Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Darachat. My name is Daramouthe. Well, my name is Daramouthe, or Dara for short. Look, I've heard some of you people. All right, you're getting a little crazy out there. It's Daramouthe, not Daramouth. All right, you're making me goof up. Okay, so just calm it down out there. But anyway, welcome to. It's like there's a silent e at the end. Can you just?
I thought for a second you had forgotten.
Well, yeah, I mean, I hear it so many times. It's like, oh, it's Daramouthe, it's Daramouthe, and then people are like Daramouth. It's like, no, that's incorrect. So I always have to say at the beginning because I keep
I remember briefly wondering, but then I was like, Daramouthe just doesn't sound right.
yeah,
So
that sounds like the worst band name ever. Welcome to the Daramouths. That's just
Daramouthe sounds like a reason you go to the dentist.
sounds like the name for a dentist. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Daramouthe Clinic. Welcome. Do you have a child or are you an adult? Oh my goodness! But yeah, it's one of those things where you still run into it once in a while. Some people are better. I've seen people get it right off the bat, and I'm just like, yes, thank thank goodness. But then you still have the other people like Daramouth's like, no, no.
It's bad for me too. There are people who they'll see the word, I guess because people aren't used to using the word gourd,
Yeah,
that when they see it, they know what it is, but it takes them it like takes a little while for their brain and their mouth to properly connect to like gourd. Of course, gourd. That's a word. And I'm like,
yeah.
yes, that's a word. It's like they're learning. It's like they're relearning it for the first time. It's like it's. I thought gourd is. I know it's not a common one, but
Yeah.
I figure I thought we all knew it.
Yeah,
Thought we knew it.
it's like having him go through hooked on phonics again. Good, good, and yes, it's good. Go chord. Yes, that's it. You got it. You got it. You're good. Um,
I popped into this past weekend. I
uh,
popped into Literature Devil's chat,
yeah,
and he highlighted a comment of mine, and it took him a second, and I'm like, your name is Literature Devil, dude. You're supposed to know the word gore. That shouldn't take a long time for you to say. Oh, disappointed.
that that when you could come across someone who has that kind of name, and then it just takes them a while to kind of get through the name that you have. That's when you
Yeah,
know they might need to go back to school for a bit.
it's like Literature Devil's a smart guy. It's like, come on, man, come on. I don't want to. I don't want to stump people with the name. That wasn't the aim.
Then you just start typing the chat. It's Gourd. It's Gourd.
Well, that's the thing. You can't protest that in the checks. They're just like, you typing it over and over. It's not going to help the pronunciation. We see it already.
Yeah, yeah, and you just sitting there like crying out of your mind, like it's Gourd.
It rhymes with cord.
Yes, yes, it's the thing I'm going to use if you don't get it right. No, we don't promote violence here, but sometimes it is funny. But anyway, welcome back. Oh, I have to do it right. I like to welcome back the one and only, the master of his domain, the Gourd King. Welcome back, oh master of the pumpkins.
Hello. Thank you for having me back. Good to see you again.
I'm just waiting for you to do like, yes, I feel wonderful to be here.
It's like, oh, we don't need to put on airs or anything. Just keep it casual, you know. This could be like this doesn't have to be like the 60 minutes interview that I'm so used to. This could be more of a casual conversation.
Yeah, as I say so myself, good boy, you're all here to hear my name and all the things I have.
Oh, jolly
Oh,
good.
jolly good, yes, yes. Are you king of the pumpkins? Because that's what you sound like. Ho ho!
It's like, oh, I am indeed king of the pumpkins, tyrant to the horrible squash.
I feel like it's gonna become one of those things where I don't remember what movie I've seen it from, but it's like one of those things, Herald of the Pumpkins, King of the Undergrowth, and all that sort of stuff. And it just
Oh, I already get that on when I come to some people's streams. You get comments like that. The funniest one I get is if I go on Roman of the Empire's channel, which I'm
yeah,
actually going to be on a week from this Thursday.
nice.
He'll call me Lord of the Vined Vegetable,
Yeah,
which I don't want to correct
yeah,
because of just how it comes off. But I
yeah.
was like, technically, a pumpkin's a fruit. But
Oh,
I'm like, do you want to tell someone actually I'm a fruit? That's it's like because that's in the parlance of our times. That's there's no easy way to say that without it sounding like something else.
You're just sitting there like, wait, what'd you say again? No, I heard myself. I heard myself. I don't have to repeat. No, no, repeat yourself. Repeat yourself. Look, no, guy, look, I was just gonna correct a mistake. Look, it's part of the tomato. Tomato's a fruit.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you try to take the back doorway of telling them that, but then you're just like, "Ah, you know what? I didn't immediately know that pumpkins weren't vegetables. I assumed they were,
Yeah,
but then I learned that if you're gonna call yourself the Gourd King, you kind of feel like you have to,
yeah.
you have to know some factoids, and that was when I learned. I was like, oh, they're fruit. I
Mm.
didn't realize that. Dang it.
Well,
Well, should I correct this?
yeah. Then you just make the mistake and said, yeah, it's a fruit. So you're saying you're a fruit. Ah, curses! He got
It's
me
like,
again.
no, that's not what I want to get across.
Uh, the one thing is because you have pumpkins and then you have actual gourds. You know, there
Yeah,
are things.
there are other members of the Gourd family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny.
If
It's funny because you use mostly a pumpkin as an image head, which is kind of funny because then you're like Charlie
solely.
Brown. Yeah,
Yeah, solely, yeah, solely. I don't go with to me because to me there can be no question which gourd is the superior gourd. It is the pumpkin. It always has and will be the pumpkin.
yeah,
So I mean it's just like there's let's not pretend it's
yeah.
anything but.
It's sort of it's funny because it's the gourd that gets used for Halloween pumpkin spice. So you know what? There you go. You're the fruity. You're the fruitiest drink around.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing is always having to tell people it's like, look, okay, this whole pumpkin spice thing that needs to go because
Mhm.
A, there is no pumpkin in pumpkin spice, and B, Halloween's when all the pumpkins get killed and maimed and carved into. It's horrible. It's our own. It's a seasonal holocaust, and it needs to stop. It really needs to stop.
Where are the pumpkin rights? Where are the signs for the pumpkins?
Exactly,
I,
exactly. Do our lives not also matter? I
yeah.
mean, come on. But no,
where's
they put us on the porch, they
yeah.
display us, they light fires inside of our hollowed out noggins, they
Mm,
toss our seeds away.
mm-mm,
Sometimes they salt them and eat them.
that's
It's a
true.
it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Where is our Lorax? Where is our
thing.
speaker of the pumpkins?
That would be that see, and that is the role I have taken on. I am the advocate.
Uh, you know what? Thank you, sir. Thank you. I wouldn't know what we would
I
do
am
without such a
I'm doing Gord's work. I'm doing Gord's work.
I have come from the gourd, king of the gourds. Oh, I, oh my goodness. Oh, that's right. The thing I was talking about, like King of the Castle, all the stuff that reminds me of that scene from. I think it was the second Back in the Future, where they go into the future, and um, old McFly enters into his house and his machine calls him king to the castle and all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
Goes through like this tirade of things to say of him. That's what that reminded me of because it's just kept this like one after another thing
Well, King
onto
King of the Castle for me that reminds me of Seinfeld in that particular episode where they're like, "So, are you master of your domain? I am lord of the manor, king of the county." I mean, we don't need to go into the whole subject matter of what that episode's about, but
yeah.
that is what my mind immediately jumps to. If anyone in the chat doesn't know the episode I'm talking to, it's the most famous episode. Okay, it's the
That's
most famous episode.
uh,
It's the contest. All right,
yeah. Oh
you
yeah,
can
the
look that up.
contest. Well, yeah, because then it had like its Family Guy counterpart where they were, I think it was the family was like in a, I don't know if they were doing like some kind of missionary work or something like that, but they were going to the deep jungle and they decided to recreate with the natives the contest. And it's just like
Oh,
I I am out. I am out. And it's just like
I
because
have not
that's
seen this episode because I don't watch a lot of Family Guy. I
yeah.
only catch like stray episodes or clips here and there. I would really say clips because I don't watch a lot of like TV.
Yeah.
So I might catch a stray scene here and there, like on Try Not to Laugh compilations or something like that. But I mean, never been a huge Family Guy fan, but there are, if you isolate some of the clips, they can be pretty funny.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of them get used because I remember the the Pepperidge Farm one has gotten used in
Oh
quite a
yeah,
few memes.
yeah. I
Pepperidge
mean,
Farm,
I mean, heck, I've used them before. I mean,
yeah.
I think I've used the Pepperidge Farm one once. I think I might have used that somewhat recently. I don't remember exactly what video, but I think I used the Pepperidge Farm remembers.
uh,
That's a pretty good meme.
we remember, and I hold up the bag of the cookies. No, it was funny because I recently found I can't remember what it's called. It's like IMG Flip or something like that. And you can and it's what it does is it allows you to easily make a meme because they have all the templates and stuff that are used, the old ones and new ones. And I wanted to, I just reminded me of that. One second, I want to try to show. So this is the first meme I made from that place. Where did I put it at? First
Uh,
meme, there we go. Yeah, I use that because they so because they it is easy. They do make it easy where all you need to do is like they have a on the right part of it they have like a top, um like the top part of the text and then the bottom part of the text, and then the images like there's the new ones and then there's like the old ones like Velociraptor and all that stuff. And this, I
I love
use
the Velociraptor.
I
Love
use
that.
so let me where do I have it? There we go. So this is my first meme. There we go. They say life is like a box of chocolates, but what if I don't like
What if I
chocolates?
don't like chocolates? I know. I mean, what if I'm a Jolly Rancher person?
I I was like I was having too much fun with it because I was like that because that's just ridiculous because that Forrest Gump and all that stuff, and I was like
I think it's a fair question.
yeah because what if I don't like chocolates and I just laughed to myself.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
funny.
then immediately it's like, well, if life's like a box of chocolates and I don't like chocolates, you're telling me, well, I mean,
You'll
life's not going so good for you, are they?
like I'm not gonna like life.
Well, it's like the analogy for you as well. Life is going to give you a lot of different options, and you're going to hate all of them.
That's
So
pretty much it.
it's, I mean, yeah, I mean that's if anything, the meme illustrates the importance of context. It's like this meme doesn't mean the same thing to every person. Life
Yeah.
is like a box of chocolates. It's like, well, I hate chocolate. So, but what you're telling me is it sucks no matter what.
Yeah. Sometimes life is like that. This I didn't put this one out yet, but this is the no, not that one. This is the second one I did because again the website just allows you to easily make the templates using different template meats like the new ones, like the old ones, like the Velociraptor, Good Luck Brian or something like that. I can't remember. Now this one I think is all
What
right.
is just out of curiosity? What is the site you're using? Just out of curiosity.
It's imgflip.com.
Okay, yeah, I use that too. I use that all the
Yeah.
time.
I just found it because I was trying to look up something. I was like, oh, okay. And then
Generally, if you see me post a meme or something on X,
yeah.
sometimes even in my videos,
Mm.
if it's just like a still image in my video, there's a good chance that I created it there. Something
Mhm.
like that's like sometimes I'll just screenshot something if that's all I need. But if I'm gonna like apply some kind of meme like context, or if I want to insert a picture within a picture, that kind of thing, yeah, it's a really useful little tool.
Oh
It's
yeah,
fun.
oh yeah. Because beforehand, it didn't feel like there was any way of easily doing it. Because I remember, what was it? It was like early 2010s or something like that. That's when memes started to become. Velociraptor was probably one of the beginner ones of those memes, of like the template stuff. Like there would be
I do recall that was an early one.
good
I
luck,
remember the
good luck, Brian.
Velociraptor shirt. Good, yeah.
Yeah,
What's Bad Luck Brian? I think.
bad luck, Brian. He
Um,
has the
yeah.
braces. Yep,
hmm
yep.
but yeah, but when I found Meme Generator probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and I use it all the time. It's like it's a go-to site. I love using like Make a GIF. When I realized I was like, oh, it's actually not that hard to make one. That's
Yeah,
kind of cool because sometimes the idea I have because I actually quite enjoy using GIFs as a response to people, whether it's
yeah.
for fun or to be snarky or whatever. But
Mhm.
sometimes the the image and the clip I have in my head as a response is not available in a GIF search.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh well, I can make my own now. and that's far better.
Yeah, because I know that a big chunk of gifs that I've seen are usually like the office ones. Like the office
Oh yeah.
gifs. Oh my goodness, it's hilarious. But okay, here's the second one I created. Probably not the greatest, but I just laughed when I made it. Because it was kind of like it's kind of like one of those things that make you think, but then you kind of see this sort of similar thing on the internet. So here's this one. I'm more expert than you are at being an expert. What's an expert? Oh yeah, that was pretty funny. Oh my goodness, are you able to see it?
I see it. I see it.
Okay,
I
yeah.
see it. I'm mulling that one.
Well, like I'm not gonna say everything I has is like some super duper thing, but it's like it's it's that thing where it's like you see that sort of stuff online where it's like I'm an expert more than you are and that sort of thing, and then you could just have this little weird thing where it's like, what's an expert? It's just one of those silly. It's like it's a what's the word? It's
No,
a
it's pointing out the appeal to authority fallacy
mm,
is a way you can look at that meme. Is it's like,
mm,
oh yeah, because like, anytime I see somebody saying, well, such and such expert, blah blah blah, and I'm like, uh, does do you think that their opinion somehow makes your claim correct? Because anytime someone says, well, experts have said this, and I'm like, you realize there's experts that say what I'm saying too. So
yeah,
who's so guess what? We have equally canceled each other out on that. So say something else now.
yeah,
It's the lamest argument I see people make is, well,
mm,
this expert said such and such, and I'm like, and
yeah.
so what?
Yeah, because it's a very especially with this look, the social media ordeal, as great it can be downright awful just because of people to some degree have an innate feeling to be right. Not everyone, but to a big chunk of them, they have that innate feeling to be right or to prove right, right? And you've probably seen it before.
Oh, of course. Well, it's why I and here's the thing. I am very easily I can find myself being tempted to, get dragged into a debate because I like discussion. I like going over points and stuff like that. But it's very easy to see and very you can be very quick to see, that a lot of people that engage in these, they're not
Mm,
looking to actually have a discussion. They are, what you're suggesting, they're just there to be right. They're not
yeah,
actually there to listen to your evidence. They'll see your point, but they're just there to counter your point, and really all it is, it's a game of who gets the last word.
yeah,
So to me, it's like, okay, little piece of advice for anyone's out there. If you engage in one of these Twitter debates,
mm,
chances are, if that's what you're trying to do, just get the last word.
yeah,
It's like, look, there's only a 50-50 chance you're going to win that one. Like,
yeah,
even if you think you have for a little while, so they could always just sneak right in and get another reply in there, and it's just an endless cycle. So what I do is, like, look, if I'm in a discussion with somebody,
mm,
I have in my mind to say a couple of things to them. I kind of can anticipate what their response is going to be.
mhm,
Sometimes I'm wrong and they have a better response or they have a worse one,
mhm,
but or sometimes I just don't have any clue at all. But I'm like, I'm more or less trying to get out what I want to say. I generally won't get into a discussion unless a debate worthy discussion unless I already kind of know I'm right.
yeah,
Um, but I'm like, I'm gonna get out these few things I'll say, and sometimes, and the way you kind of, it's sort of a kill them with kindness technique, is you just say, look, this is the last thing I'm going to say on the matter. If the last word is important to you, you go ahead and have it. I'm
mhm,
not particularly interested in that, but I'm like, you go ahead and have the last word. And then I hit the mute button because I'm like, I'm not, if it's a game of just debate, then I
mhm,
already know what the game is. So I'm just like, it's not that important to me.
yeah,
But if I can have a conversation with somebody, that's far better. That's far more rich. That's far more interesting. And that I actually like doing, where it's not about like I have to be right, or it's like, no,
yeah,
no, let's listen to each other's points.
mhm,
It's a counterpoints in good faith. That's all fine and good. I like that stuff. I can get into long discussions with people doing that kind of thing. But once I realize it's just a debate, I'm like,
Yeah,
well, so basically these days it's just a game of who gets the last word. And generally speaking, I will concede it to them. I'll be like, you can have the last word. I'm not that interested in getting it.
yeah,
And just so you know, person, I'm not going to read your last word because I
yeah.
don't care.
Yeah, well, and it's also that thing of too, like you can have people who's a troll and they
Mhm.
instigate something. They instigate chaos is basically what it is. And I get it, people get mocked or trolled because, there are some dumb takes out there that are more of like, um, I guess that are on the basis of hypocritical takes, you know. But my thing that I've seen is that pointing out hypocrisy really doesn't move anything forward, because it usually just ends up pointing out to each other's flaws, not only within the conversation, but of anything else, right? Because you see those things where it just evolves into this sort of personal attack situation. And yeah, it does kind of feel like at a certain point it's a game of chicken. Again, you're not, trying to get like what the actual game of chicken is. It's more of um like you said, yeah, it's more about getting that last word in. And again, people who are very trollish, who are instigating on trollish behavior, they don't care if they get the last word in or not. They just care they need to get to see you scramble over yourself in order to believe you'll prove them wrong, which kind of plays into that to what the troll wants based on whatever they want. But I don't
Well,
know.
honestly, the troll doesn't a troll who's just trying to engage you that way. They don't care about being wrong. That's not
Mm,
their. That's not the. I mean, it's like they are. It's like they have their list of points for why they're right. It
yeah,
doesn't like your counter could shatter what they're saying,
yeah,
like utterly, and it won't cause them to move off of it. For them, it's just getting that last word in. It's just how many salvos can I throw out to make sure I have the last word.
mm,
And chances are, if that's the kind of person you're dealing with, you're not going to get the last word because they have a different kind of stamina than you do.
yeah,
They are specifically in it to get the last word so they can feel good about themselves
mm,
and they can feel like, haha, I won that one, run away, haha. And I'm like, I don't care. But that's why to me it's like it is important if you realize that's the kind of person you're dealing with. It's like
mm,
call it out and let them have it. It's a look. I can already tell what kind of person you are. You're just in this to get the last word. Guess what? You can have it. Here's the
yeah,
last thing I'm going to say. Adieu.
yeah,
It's like that, and that's where I'll leave them. I'm like, I already know that's what you're in it for. It's like I know that there's nothing I can say right now that's literally going to uh there's nothing you will accept as evidence to prove you wrong. You've demonstrated that, so
mm,
there we go. Because it's like generally, like you realize, it's easy to realize that once you see that they're not actually countering anything I'm saying, they're just
mm.
glossing over it. They're moving past it as quickly as they can.
Right. Well, it sort of reminds me of that sketch from Monty Python where it's the argument clinic, and he just goes in to for an argument, and it's just about taking up the opposite end. It's like, no, you didn't. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. It's sort of that sort of thing. Was hilarious. Um, but it is, and there's also those emotional traps as well because they do instigate. People do instigate this sort of um like defense mechanism or whatever in someone else's brain, because again, when you're reading someone's comment or post whatever on the internet, you're not reading it in their voice, you're reading it in your own voice or some snarky version of what you believe their voice to be, and so you can get the wrong impression. There was actually I don't know if you know who uh Jordan Peele and no, what was it,
Key
Key
and
and Peele,
Peele,
yeah, Key
sure.
and Peele are, but a long time ago, their show's not anymore, but they had a sketch in their show about sort of that similarity where you had two different guys. So one was sort of like a 420 guy, basically, and then you have this other guy who's just getting a cup of coffee, and they sort of texting each other back and forth, and then this sort of thing sets off a whole trail of one side is reading it one way, where another side reading it one way, where this guy, like I think Key's character is sort of like he's getting angry, he's getting upset, he's getting frustrated, and all the other, and the guy who's on the other end is just like chill, whatever. He's not really, he's not reading it the same way, and so you see this sort of path divergent of the conversation because there's no, like here where you could see my face, you can see how I act, you can hear how I sound, and all that stuff. that's pretty much covered by just a wall of words. And so at the very end of the sketch, or whatever you want to call it, you see this point where Peel is at the bar. They go to meet at a bar. Peel's at the bar. He got a drink for his friend and himself. And all of a sudden, his friend comes in with a bat with nails in it. And he's just like, he's coming for a fight while his other friend's coming for a drink. And you can see the ultimate end of that response. So it is sort of like that because, um, I mean, there was more than that. You had Facebook and stuff, but I mean, for what has come with like Twitter X or whatever, you do kind of see this. It almost becomes a show in itself. And again, I'm not going to say I'm free of it. I fall into those pit traps too. But like you were saying before, sometimes you kind of, if you're able to take a step back, you're able to see and kind of say, is it worth investing time into? Because sometimes, more than not, it's not. It's really just empty. It's really just spent time on nothing.
Yeah. Well, and it's good even to within. I mean, with any discussion that you're going to do on like Twitter or something like that, which where there's a disagreement, it's kind of good to assess once you realize, okay, this is what this is what I'm into, whether it's a debate or a discussion.
Mhm.
It's good to assess, okay, how much time do I actually have to devote to this?
Yeah.
It's good to kind of have a mental, it's like, do I want to be in this all day? Am I willing to devote 10
Yeah.
minutes, 20, 30 to it? I mean, 'cause there's a lot of people that they are ready with their phones and whatnot. It's like the second you reply, it's like, haha, I've got one for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, it can honestly get kind of exhausting. It like I know the last one that I got into, which granted this was more of a, I guess it was more of a discussion,
Mhm.
but at the same time it was frustrating because like I am very much one of those people that if I get into a debate or discussion, I'm very focused on the point.
Right.
I'm I try to keep, I try to remain hyper focused on the point. I'm not saying I never deviate
Yeah.
and kind of allow myself to, because a lot of people, like when you're engaged in a discussion, they'll move the discussion onto something else very, very
Yeah.
quickly to
Mhm.
not address your point. And I have at times move off of that if I feel like I can attack that too. But at the same time, I'm like, no, 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 get back to the point you were at before. It's always
Mhm.
the best way to approach it. And this person just wasn't quite getting, not necessarily what I was saying, but what they had said.
Yeah.
In because they had responded to someone else about a particular issue,
Yeah.
and I said, "You're not really engaging this discussion," because they basically reacted to what this person said in a
Mhm.
way that didn't have to actually, go the direction they took it. I was like, "Why did you immediately jump to this when you saw what they said? What they said didn't necessarily have anything to do with that." And
Mhm.
they really couldn't grasp that. It was interesting. I was like, they really couldn't grasp that the original comment wasn't about the thing that they were saying it was about. I was like, no, it can go in that direction, but
Mhm.
there's extra steps you have to take, and nobody took those. This
Right.
is something that actually has a different application, and this person could not get their mind back to that. And I
Mhm.
just kept drawing them back to that point over and over again because they would keep taking it off into these little mini tangents going in a different direction. I'm like, no, okay, I'm not talking about that though. Let's get back to the point.
Yeah.
And it went on for a while, and I finally was like, look, this is going to be up the last thing I say, but da 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 da. I
Yeah.
said what I was saying, but and I didn't mute them or anything like that. That's why I'm not calling this person out. I like this person,
Right.
and we agree on a lot of stuff. It's just this, but we have this particular difference. This person that I share certain religious views with, and
Yeah.
the
You,
discussion was about a religious thing,
mhm.
and it's one of these fundamental differences in what this person believes and what people like me believe. It's like two
Right.
sects of the same religion,
Yeah.
and he basically took something this original poster said and made it about that difference. And I was like, no, no, that's not what this is about. It's not about that difference. You can take
Yeah.
it that way, but that's not what it's about.
Right.
So I was like, look, this will have to be the last thing I say on the matter, but because I've only got so much time. But it's
Yeah.
like, I was like, that's not what was meant by the original comment in the first place. I'm not sure why you took it in that direction. I think the way you're talking about it is kind of bad faith. It
Mhm.
doesn't look good,
Mhm.
So I really think you owe this person an apology because you're kind of bad mouthing them when they didn't say what you're suggesting. So
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, I'm curious if I guess I'm somewhat curious if they if they listened at some point. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was a weird conversation because they couldn't quite get that that's what they were doing.
Right, and I think when someone or and you can happen to you personally too is where things can devolve into either the name calling or personal attacks, not like heavy, but some snide comment here and there. I think once somebody does that, they've kind of start losing the ability to discuss on a level. Because again, I mean, I know there's academia debates, right? Like academia, they have certain rules, you have certain times, all this stuff, and I think that's an agreeable state of doing things is on a academic sort of debate stage because at least there's a bounding of rules that both parties can agree upon instead of it being a free for all, which can get so messy. It Yeah, it can end badly depending on. But there's also that part where you see on the social media where it devolves into personal attacks, and whether it's the other side or as the individual slipping into it, it sort of kind of points out that you don't have anything beyond the point being made. And of course, you're right. There are people who kind of switch, as they call it, switch the goalposts, right, or switch what's being talked about. Because at the end of the day, some people um, either it's possible to get confused on the matter, or trying to think that one object of something correlates to what you're talking about. There's a whole bunch of things that come in. It's a very interesting mechanic within that field of online social media debate thing. And again, I kind of agree more with doing like an academic version because people have a time limit, people have the ability to bring up their own ends. You don't really have this disturb the other person over the other and trying to get your point in. Rather, you have this point of set point here, and then you have your rebuttal and then sort of that stuff. But with social media, it's sort of like it's like the Wild West. You pick up the air pop gun and you're just popping off in all different spaces and it just gets ugly. But
Yeah. Well,
uh,
and it almost feels like a lot, and it's weird because it's there are people who will engage in these discussions, and it's like they're just they're coming in with the intent of things being ugly. And granted, I guess it's like the notion behind by engaging in such a discussion is you're
mm,
trying is like it makes you feel better about yourself if such and such a person looks bad
yeah.
on your behalf. It's like,
Mm,
haha, I made this person that I've already decided not to like. I have made them look bad.
mm,
Yay for me. And I'm like, it's I personally, I mean, granted, there are some people that you might engage with that you kind of know going in. There's probably no nice resolution to this,
yeah.
but if me and this person can come to at least some common ground, I always feel like that is desirable.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not perfect in this regard, but I try at least when I know I'm in a disagreement with someone, I try to at least find a way for us to have some form of common ground at least once we start to wind the discussion down. I'm looking for a spot where it's like, maybe we share agreement here.
Yeah.
And I know some people they're not interested in that. They're just looking to they're just looking to, get an own, and it's like, ha, I owned this person. They're so stupid and I made them look stupid. It's like, oh, okay, you know. I'm like, if that makes you feel good about yourself, cool. You do you, man.
Yeah.
But I kind of I find that most of the time it's like if someone's silly, they're gonna do plenty of work to make themselves look silly. They'll
Mm,
do that for themselves. You don't have to step in that much. I mean, granted, sometimes it's fun to point out silliness. I did that last night. I'm not gonna lie. I was up for a little while and I popped onto Twitter for a bit, and I
yeah.
saw somebody had tweeted something out that it just I did a double take when I read it because okay, I'm actually gonna tell this one. I just thought this was funny. Thought
Right.
this was really funny. Um, there was a football player
Okay.
who, for the Eagles, who won the
Mm,
Super Bowl recently,
right. Right.
and he's a pretty famous player for them.
Mm.
He just went golfing with Donald Trump,
Oh.
and
Oh.
I was like, that's cool. And he was like, a lot of people are losing their, kind of losing their stuff over this. And he's like, I've golfed with Obama before too. What's it matter? It's like you're all acting like this is some political thing. And one person said, he does something extremely political, but he says, why are you all getting political? I'm like, he golfed with somebody. I know it's a politician, but is that all that defines him? Whatever. But the
Mm.
funny comment that I saw was this guy. He first quoted him and saying playing golf isn't political, and he said, and this was, I'm reading his response. I'm looking at it. And he says,
Right.
right, because if someone famous played golf with Kim Jong Un, Epstein, or Ahmed Al Shara, right wingers totally wouldn't react to it. LMAO. And I was like, hang on,
Hmm.
if someone famous golfed with Epstein, okay, A, Epstein is not a political figure, was
Hmm.
not a political figure.
Right.
But more importantly, I'm pretty sure if anybody golfed with Epstein, we all would react
Yeah.
because Epstein's dead.
Yeah.
So I would think that if we saw somebody golfing with a dead guy,
Yeah.
that would raise a few eyebrows, right? It was just, I was like, you didn't think that statement through when you tweeted it out there, did you? And what's
Right.
funny is like, this is one of those, I mean, it got a bit of traction. It got
Mm.
like 40 something replies. It got like 70 something likes. Granted, it had like 46,000 views. I mean, it
Right.
wasn't like it was a really well liked tweet, but I pointed that out. I was just like, hang on. You, did you think about what you just said? I was like, Epstein's not a political figure and he's dead.
Mhm.
Everyone would, I was like, I mean, there's so many different ways in which that looks like a stupid and bad statement. I was like, first, are you suggesting that, okay, let's say Epstein was alive.
Mhm.
Are you saying it's a bad thing if people react to somebody buddying up with Epstein? I'm pretty sure we're all supposed to be against him and anybody associated with him at this point, right?
Yeah.
um, but because the way it was worded almost sounded like a defense of him, or even Kim Jong Un. It's like, I thought we all were kind of against Kim Jong Un. Kind of thought he was a crappy person. I don't know who Ahmed Al Shara is. I know he's somebody in
Medicare.
Syria, but no,
Yeah.
he's somebody in Syria. I don't know much about him, but I
Mhm.
was like, Epstein. I'm pretty sure we all would react if someone was butting up with Epstein, even when he was alive. If we,
Yeah.
knowing, I think someone like Weinstein probably be a better living comp for that right now. But I was like, somebody golfing with Epstein, I think we'd all raise our eyebrows. He's dead. It's like,
Yeah.
you'd be like, wait a minute, that guy's golfing with it. Epstein's alive? What
How
the
is he
heck?
here?
How did
What
that
the heck?
happen? How's he golfing?
Yeah. How is he here? How is
I'm
he
pretty
doing
sure
that?
we'd all react to that, left or right. I
Yeah.
feel like that's an issue that across the aisle we can agree on. That'd be pretty strange.
Yeah. That would be pretty strange, to be honest. But I mean,
Like I said, sometimes you don't have to do the work to make somebody feel stupid. Sometimes they'll do it themselves.
well, yeah, because again, social media has that platform. And this is all of social media. This isn't just Twitter X, but all of social media allows that to be seen. Like, I mean, I know, again, YouTube was basically made basis on the basis of YouTube, right? That's in the name.
Hmm.
But the point of the matter is combining that, and then you have the written part of it, whatever, and then all the other stuff. You make these platforms become a way for people to be seen and all this stuff, but you will also allow the stuff that's sort of junky or can appear junky on that level of social matter, right? And so that kind of starts appearing through, and then you have all those discussions and stuff, and it's just a weird and yet a questionable point because again we do reach into this thing where it's sort of like it is a shared experience because if you do something of that nature, right, the discussions or whatnot, you're going to have a lot of people biased for and against, and you've probably seen this too where you may have said something and that may have set off another person agreeing with the person that's arguing with you, and so you get into this sort of uh, uh, tribalism sort of creating motion, and then sort of just grows
Hmm.
from there. And I mean, there
Oh,
again.
I did one not too long ago
Mm,
like that, where somebody put out a tweet about Kratos from God of War,
Oh, nice.
and it's talking about like some of his, I guess, some of the qualities he had from the original series, where he was just, slaughtering the gods for revenge and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
And I think basically I said something along the lines of, I was like, if the funny thing is, this is like the most engaged with tweet I've ever put out,
Mhm.
which is weird because I just thought this was a pretty. I didn't think much of when I said this. I didn't think I was saying anything profound, but okay. But I said Kratos was a great character in the old games, but he wasn't a role model because
Yeah.
that's kind of what the discussion was leaning towards, was this idea of like Kratos being a role model.
Mhm.
And there were some really interesting discussions that came from that, even some that I was having some with some of the people who were replying specifically to me. Like one of them was bringing up they were like, well, but he had certain qualities. And I'm like, no, I
Mhm.
think that's perfectly fair. He had some qualities in those games that were admirable.
Mhm.
But if you look at the way that his character utilized a lot of them, it's like, yeah, if we were to put a real world application to some of those, it'd be pretty awful. It's not to say that the people he was up against were good, but it's like
Yeah.
sometimes it's like a lot of times in a conflict there is no good guy.
Yeah.
But it was this, but it created this massive discussion around this character, because a lot of because there are a lot of people who they don't like the Kratos of the new games. They like the one of
Yeah.
the old ones. I
Yeah.
personally think he's just one great character who's on a really interesting arc.
Yeah.
I have issues with the modern God of War games as far as gameplay goes, but I think storytelling wise they're pretty excellent.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty awesome. I mean,
Mhm.
uh, but yeah, I was like, look, if you go back and you look at the kind of person he was in the old games,
Mhm.
he wasn't a good guy. He
Yeah.
wasn't somebody that, on the whole, should be regarded as a role model. I mean, for crying out loud, one of the first acts of the game is this. It's like you're literally inside the mouth of this monster, and this
Mhm.
guy's got a key, and you literally stop him from falling into down this thing's throat. And he's like, "Oh, I thought it was. Oh, you saved me. I thought it was gonna die." And Kratos takes the key, and he's like, "I'm not saving you." He drops him down his throat. I'm like, "That's not that's kind of bad. That's
Yeah.
actually a pretty terrible thing you just did."
Right.
Uh, but again, I wasn't like trying to morally grant it. I was just like, it's a video game. I don't really
Yeah.
care that much. But at the same time, I'm like, look, if we're going to evaluate him under this context, no, that's not a good thing. All
Yeah.
right. So, but yeah, it was, yeah, all I said was, he was a great character, but he wasn't a role model. And
Mhm.
it got that tweet got tons of engagement. And I was like, dang, I think it was right before I got verified, and I was like, dang it, I wish I was verified when I put that one out there. Crap.
Yeah.
That might have actually, got me a whole lot, because I mean, shoot, if I was verified at that point, it probably would have gotten 5 times the amount of engagement it got. It would have been awesome.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is going back to this, like, you're right. I mean, heck, he even out of rage, he even killed his own family, his first family.
Yeah, well,
Obviously.
that's that he was easy to trick because he was often
Yeah.
blinded by rage. So yeah, it's I mean, I think Kratos is an awesome character, and I think I've really enjoyed, like, writing wise, the evolution of
Yeah.
him. And again, for all the issues I have with the new games gameplay wise,
Mhm.
like particularly, like, okay, Ragnarok, I one of my biggest beefs with that game is I don't feel like the gameplay evolved from the previous one all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
much,
Mhm.
and I also thought, boy, I mean, not to sound too crude, but it's like they kind of blew their load with the mini bosses. The Valkyries in the first
Mhm.
one were awesome.
Yeah.
They did a replacement version of those. They weren't nearly as good.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, you probably should have saved the Valkyries for later. That would have been a
Yeah.
lot better. I mean, granted, I
Mhm.
still think story wise they utilized them well, but it's like, gosh, maybe y'all should have just not done anything like that this game. Maybe you should have just focused on,
Mhm.
producing some just really good main bosses. And granted, they had a couple that were all right,
Yeah.
uh, but for all the issues I have with some of the gameplay stuff, I was like, writing wise, I feel like that series just keeps getting better. I think really since God of War 3, I think the writing
Mhm.
is pretty top notch. I mean, I guess if I were to complain about anything writing wise with the new games, it's I thought Odin spoke a little too modern. Like
Mhm.
that, I don't know if you've played Ragnarok.
I've watched people play. I have the
If
first
you
game.
watch
The the
if you watch the first scene of God of War Ragnarok, that
mhm,
it's a like literally it's a table conversation
yeah.
with
He
Kratos, Atreus,
him,
yeah,
Thor, him
Odin, yeah, it's
yeah,
all, yeah, they're all at a table talking.
yeah.
I kind of think the some of the terminology Odin's using feels modern. Like
Mhm.
referring to what's her face, the oh shoot, I'm blanking
The
on her name. The
the
the, the chick that
Freya?
Freya,
Yeah.
referring to Freya as my ex. I was
Mhm.
like, your ex? That sounds modern. You're
Yeah.
calling her your ex. I was like, that's, I don't feel like in the old times they would call somebody they divorced their ex.
Mhm.
That
Well
I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a relatively modern term. So it
mhm,
felt a little off. And there were a
right,
couple times where I was like, his dialogue just felt a little too modern for my taste. Like it was a little
right.
weird. But is it that big a deal? No. It was just something that stuck out to me the two times I played it. I was like, Odin's dialogue irks me a little bit sometimes because it just feels out of place. But
Mhm,
other than that, as far as just the sheer storytelling and the character development, I think it's
mhm.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, because I mean, I only have the first one, which I can't remember if that was just God of War or God of War Ragnarok. Because there was that one, then there was this. I think
Ragnarok's the most recent. That's the
yeah,
most.
the Ragnarok, and then Valhalla was the DLC.
Hmm.
Was the DLC one, which I don't have the second one nor that. Um,
Well, if you have Ragnarok, the DLC is free.
yes,
So,
I
so
just
I'm
have
guessing I'm guessing you don't have Ragnarok then.
no,
So
just the other one,
the 2018 one.
yeah, the 2018 one. And again, like you were saying, because I think it was PlayStation put out like this behind the scenes thing of when they were doing the new God of War, and the guy Corey something whatever. Because I can't remember exactly where he was when the original God of War came out, but he's the director of the new one, and so they were kind of talking about this back and forth of like, well, we can't really have the old God of War come because it's not like it'd be just the same old God, Kratos not having learned anything, especially after the third one, right? Where he's
Mhm.
completely destroyed the Greek pantheos of gods, especially Zeus and the
Yeah,
giants.
if you're just gonna insert him into uh, a new a new realm, with its
Mhm.
own gods and whatnot, you can't. If you're just gonna take the exact same route, it's too repetitive.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember, I still very, pretty vividly remember when they first started putting out the trailers for the 2018 one.
Mm.
And it's funny because like when we saw, okay, it's Valhalla, that was very much wish fulfillment for a lot of God of War fans, because a lot of us would say all the time in conversations, like, "Gosh, I really hope if they do more God of War and they put it in a new realm," because the idea was that if they're going to do more God of War, it's either A, he's going to be in a new realm, or B, it's going to be rebooted in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Or and this one I didn't feel like I didn't feel like this one got talked about very much. I was like, well, the third track is that the story technically keeps going, but it's not Kratos. You are in a
Yeah.
new realm, but it's just somebody else.
Yeah.
But I feel like then you're just kind of likely to just start repeating the same story with just different characters in different realms. And that seems kind of dull.
Yeah.
But when he saw, okay, it's probably going to be Kratos, it's probably going to be a new realm. I doubt they're just going to reboot the whole thing.
Mm.
I was like, okay, cool. And he's got the big beard and he's got a son, and you're like,
Mm.
oh, okay, so he's changed. There's
Yeah.
there's some differences now.
Yep.
He's carrying some burdens for what it is, and I was like, okay, I was like hooked into the premise
Yeah.
immediately, and I find it genuinely bizarre
Mhm.
that people, I guess, more to my side of the political aisle seem to have a problem with this. I was like, you have a problem with the fact that they're exploring the idea of Kratos being a father?
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
number one, how does that not fit his character
Yeah.
in the sense of telling an arc? Because I mean, what was his biggest mistake in the Greek trilogy?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's a quadrilogy. Well, it's not even
Y
a quadrilogy. There's like six of them. But
Oh, okay.
his biggest mistake is he killed his wife and his daughter. He killed his
Yep.
kid.
Yep.
So you're I mean, you don't want to see a story where he gets some form of redemption and he's trying to be a good father. And so I was
Mm.
like, what's wrong with that exactly? I think that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're exploring it in a way that's mature and
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
as well as entertaining. I'm like, I like some of the things I see people bringing up because I mean, granted, I understand how when you see a company that gets involved with them, like Sweet Baby Inc., because they had
Yeah.
some involvement,
Yeah.
and look, we can tell where their fingerprints are in Ragnarok because they
Mm.
yeah the female character who
Angraboda.
was and she was black, and I was
Mm.
like, okay, do I agree that that was probably their handiwork? Yes. Do I think it's all that intrusive? Not really.
Mm.
I
No.
don't because at the end of the day, it's like I still think your character's pretty well written. So I was like,
Yeah.
it doesn't bug me that much. I'm really not that bothered by it. I know that it's probably not accurate to the mythology,
Well, yeah.
but it is very much probably that kind of decision where they probably were like, yeah, okay, fine, we'll listen to you on this. But my sense of it is based on everything else story wise in that game. It's
Mm.
probably one of those things where they were like, whoever was writing it was like, I don't want to listen to these people, but if I can just compromise here but still write an interesting character, who
Yeah.
freaking cares? If
Yeah.
this will shut these idiots up,
Yeah.
fine. Because nothing, I don't see anything else in that game writing wise to where you could classify it as like woke or like political. It's like it's they're telling a story and a
Mm.
really freaking good one too.
Right.
So why everything has to be one or the other? It's just like, gosh, it's tiresome anymore. It's
Yeah.
tiresome.
Well, yeah, and of course, I mean, we already know that both stories aren't really that, they borrow stuff from Norse mythology, but they're not that closely too. Because I mean, you
Well, no,
have,
Kratos alone changes that because
yeah,
Kratos isn't in those mythologies. So I mean, yeah, it's once you insert Kratos into it and it's like his mythology changes everything. Which, granted, the way they're doing it is really interesting. It's actually
yeah,
pretty freaking cool.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm like, it's just some of the discussions I've seen on that game are just they're mind-numbingly stupid. What I mean, I'm not just gonna go after some people who think like, hey, there's plenty of people on the other side and to me that's what it is. It's like somebody wants to claim a piece of property as their own,
uh,
and if there's one thing that aggravates me about my side of the aisle, sometimes we are far too willing to hand it to them.
right,
Well, because we'll see one little thing we don't like, and like, you know what? You're right.
mhm,
You all can have it. And meanwhile, some of us with a little bit more sense are like, why would you give that to them?
right,
No, it's like no, this isn't good. We don't want to give this over because of this one. It's like, yes, I agree. This one little thing isn't good, but the
mhm.
rest of it is actually quite good. Let's not just be so ready to hand this over.
Yeah, yeah, and again, for the series itself, I think the biggest things that kind of tie it off is towards the end in the DLC, right, where you have him sort of confront his past, the beardless self in the chair, and he sort of does this sort of reflection upon himself because that's what Valhalla is. It's you go in and
It's
it does a
something that, and I'm only cutting. I apologize if me
no, you're
cutting
fine.
you off there was rude, but I'm only cutting off because I haven't played it yet.
Oh, okay.
I am aware of everything you've said, so you haven't
Yeah.
spoiled anything. But I'm like, I don't. But I am saving that
Okay.
for a live stream. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to getting into it because I know a lot of people I listen to who discuss writing and stuff, like the guys on EFAP and whatnot. They have praised the DLC to no end.
Mm,
And I'm but and listening to their praise, I'm like, okay, I think similar to them as far as like writing
mm.
quality. Them praising it is enough, but anytime it starts getting into details, I'm like, okay, got to turn it off because I don't want it spoiled for me.
Yeah.
Because, but and also the fact that, and look, I know Sony sucks as a
Mhm,
company. No, I am more than willing to agree with that.
mhm.
However, we can at least be happy with the fact that we did get that DLC for free.
Yeah,
That's
that is
pretty
true. That's
good. That's
that
pretty
would
good.
that would cost, oh, I don't know, 20, $30
20
to
$30
buy.
easily
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, because of the amount of work and just the amount of time that put in you. Because again, it's a lot of people's time being put into that, and I don't know how
Mhm.
much they made from both games. I didn't look
I'm
into that.
sure they made a ton.
Yeah,
I mean, because I know I'm pretty sure the first one, let's see, God of War 2018 sales, they sold at least 10 million copies. It was probably significantly more than that. It
yeah.
might be something more like 20. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. I pulled it up here. God of War sales passed 23 million copies. That was as of That was as of 2022.
Right. So
So we're
it might be a
probably it might be 30 by now.
yeah, because of the PC version, right? PC, because of course the Sony thing, right, where they were paid
Yeah, that's right,
for
because
the
that's on PC. I'd forgotten about that.
yeah,
Shoot, yeah, it is
both
on
of them are
PC now.
now. Yeah,
Yeah,
and the point
and
of
Ragnarok had sold 15 million by 2023, and that
yeah.
was when it first came out. So yeah, these games they've made tons off of it.
Yeah, because again, I think, and that's the weird thing about the whole Sony, especially with the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, was the exclusivity spot. And I know it was for PlayStation 5 and all that stuff, but it does feel like that while a company, Sony, is going to pay this other company to make the game, and they're paying for exclusive right, it really is a hindrance because it doesn't allow them to reach into the other markets of PC. Now, again, PC isn't like the biggest gaming thing because it does have a small share, at least from what I last remember I saw.
Mhm.
But the point of the matter is that sooner or later, if you're not paying attention to what switches, right? And then of course Steam's thing. Like that's where that stuff is heading to, is having a mobile PC in your hand that could play almost any game. And yeah, you may have difficulties here and there, but the point of the matter is that that's where the technology is going because of course you have VR, right? So there's VR, but you also have that mobile fact. So it's sort of like do you remember when Apple's Vision came out, right? And that whole spiel of things,
Vaguely, yeah.
the whole thing of that is that may be eventually what the gaming space may turn to because again it reminds me of a bit of like Ready Player One, if you've ever saw that movie.
Yeah.
Ready Player One was yeah, you had a track, you had a thing, and there were people who, and it's a funny thing, right? You have these people who are inspired by this movie and creating these things in for VR and stuff, and that that may be that essence of where it may be heading because again you have the switch, you have the Steam thing, which are mobile, right? Consoles may have their thing for a while, but again, mobility and 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 the almost immersiveness that VR offers, that may be where things are heading for the gaming portion of it because it explores new points, right? Like you could be swinging the axe actually instead of pressing the A button, or you could be like a 4D version, right, where they do like smells or stuff, which I don't know if they'll ever do. But again, the mobility and VR typeness of it, or AR, right, or augmented reality, right, like your Pokemon Go. That's another
Yeah,
one.
I think those things are I think VR is established enough to where it's at the very it's an effective niche. I mean,
Mhm,
we it's because it had its first they had their first attempt at VR way
mhm.
back with like stuff like the Virtual Boy and things like that.
Yeah.
But stuff like that wasn't especially like immersive, so it failed.
Mhm,
Um, but now that games have progressed to the point where they can be more immersive because of the realism and whatnot,
mhm.
that plays more into the niche to make it work better. Now, do I think VR is ever going to take over gaming? I doubt it.
Mhm.
It depends on how you can implement the interface. Like the
Yeah.
way it is at the moment,
Mhm,
no, because if you look at VR games, you actually look at the way they're played.
mhm.
Um, they're strange.
Yeah.
They're kind of strange. They're now. It's not that they don't work. I mean, there's actually some really cool stuff about them,
Right.
but gaming like gaming will need to evolve significantly before that I think goes like full blown mainstream. It may really never do that because it's just I don't know if every type of game experience really lends itself to that, especially because a lot of games are just not that at all. Like I just did a gaming stream today.
Mhm.
I was literally forced last night to learn OBS to do a stream because my PlayStation controller, which that's what I typically have streamed from,
Yeah.
was on the fritz.
Ugh.
And I literally, and by the way, I might have to walk away for just like 30 seconds here in a sec because I think my PlayStation controller is literally at my door, my new one. But
Nice.
I'll need to grab that. But I was forced to, I was like, I was like, okay, I've been meaning to teach myself OBS so I could stream games from my Steam library. This is a perfect time to go ahead and do that. Thankfully,
Mhm,
it was not too difficult. But the game I played was came out several years ago. It's called Faith: The Unholy Trinity. I've always
hmm.
heard great things about it, but it's it was done in the old Atari style,
Oh.
and but it's very well written. It's very atmospheric. There's some really cool cutscenes that utilize like rotoscoping,
Mhm.
uh, and the game is I'm about a chapter and a half in. It's only 3 chapters long. It's a fairly short game,
Mhm.
but it is really creepy. But there's no way you could do it in VR because it's Atari style. So it's like
Yeah.
you're not going to immerse yourself into that.
Mhm.
Either it would be kind of pointless to do that in Atari. It would be pointless to do in 3D. There's just really nothing for it. And I feel like that's probably true of most games because number one, VR really only works first person. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to have a first person game in order to do that. And first person, I don't think ever is going to fully take over the game industry
Mhm.
because first person, like, thankfully, has gotten to a place where like older first person games actually have replay value. Like, I
Mhm.
remember when first person was first kind of coming up,
Mhm.
and I was personally like a little concerned about them because like with every new first person game it felt like it was severely dating the ones that came before. Like for all the nostalgia I have for like say GoldenEye 64, that game
Yeah.
is unplayable by
Yeah.
today's standards. You
Yeah.
I mean, I once tried to go back and play it. Like I had a PC a while back and an old N64 controller that you could plug into it, and I tried to play that game, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful now because technology has just advanced way past that.
Yeah.
It's like GoldenEye is just not playable in its old form.
Yeah.
And granted, if I took the time and like got used to the controls again, it probably would be reasonably fun to
Mhm.
do. But objectively speaking, it's like okay, it's severely dated. It's not as good as what's out there now. There's
Mm.
nothing wrong with admitting that. It doesn't take away any of the great memories I have. I'm personally less inclined to relearn that for that very reason. It's like I don't want to kill the memories I had of it. It's like I
Yeah.
am perfectly fine remembering how great it was for its time, but let's be real. The, we don't need games. If you were to make a game like that today with those kind of controls, people would rate it like a 2 out of 10 at best. They'd be like, "What the heck did y'all do to this piece of crap?"
Yep.
But so there was a long stretch where that was happening with a lot of first person shooters,
Mhm.
where you'd get to the next one, it was like, wow, this kind of destroys that old one. So now that old one's too dated to go back to.
Yeah.
But I feel like once we got to games like Halo, eventually like the Modern Warfare games, like
Mhm.
I've replayed the original Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare 2. Those actually hold up really well. Halo holds up really, really well, and I'm very happy about that because there was just that stretch of time where it felt like every year the new slew of FPS games were it was like playing sports games. Sports games tend to be, year over year they kind of outdate the previous one. Sports
Yeah.
games,
Yeah.
that's still a problem.
Yeah.
For a while it felt like FPS games were the same thing. It was just
Mhm.
once it's like every year is an upgrade that kind of obliterates the previous one.
Right.
And thankfully we're not in that place now, but
Mhm.
at the same time, I don't think we're ever going to reach a place where first person shooters become just the industry standard that every game has to be an FPS game. Because I think a lot of particularly games that are very story driven, like God
Mhm.
of War, for example,
Yeah.
um, you want that in third person. You want to see the character because it's the character. It's like it's not about you. It's about
Mhm.
your watching their story. It's not about your story. It's about this is about Kratos' story. I'm not being Kratos. When I'm playing it, I'm pushing his story forward because that's the fun of it.
Mhm.
There are games which are much more immersive where you can do the FPS thing and that's really fun. And I feel like those games, if you do those in VR, sure, you can. If we can push VR to new heights and to make it all the more innovative and all the more immersive, heck yeah, let's. I mean, VR could become a very popular thing, particularly for first person games. But
Yeah.
I feel like there's always going to be a massive segment and percentage of the gaming market that's just not going to have anything to do with VR. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like VR can ever fully take over. It can continue to grow in popularity. It can become one of the most, maybe even one day, the most popular genre.
Mhm.
But I don't think it'll ever be by itself
Yeah.
as just this is the only thing anyone's ever playing anymore.
Yeah, no, and that makes perfect sense because again, there's always going to be the different genres of gaming. But anyway, it is the top of the hour, and so like last time, what we do is I set aside some time for us to self promote ourselves because Sometimes I have people on here who do create content. Some people who are not a content creator. It doesn't matter. But anyway, I did put all your links down below. But
Appreciate
if you want to sell yourself, but not like that, the floor is
You
yours.
can find me at the street corner.
Whoa, whoa, hey, whoa! I said not like that. All right, come on.
It's 1-888 daddy. No,
Look,
no.
you're not helping yourself at this point.
Or am I? No.
Oh
Okay,
man.
so sorry, I was taking a drink of water. Promote myself. So actually, I'm kind of doing a bit of I'm doing some transitional things with my channels right now. So
Mm,
I announced this actually today while I was streaming Faith the Unholy Trinity. The channel I have typically referred to as my main one because it was the one I started with.
right.
I am leaning towards making that into solely the gaming channel, and I am planning some different content that goes beyond just the typical uh beyond the typical like just streams that I've been doing. Because up till very recent, like well, up to I guess today,
Mm,
anytime I do a live stream, I have done it from that channel. But then I download it, I delete it from that channel, and I move it over to my gaming channel, which my gaming channel is very small, and it's just re-uploads of my live streams. I'm going to
right.
stop doing that
Mm.
with all of my games very soon. Like I'm currently, excuse me, I'm in the middle of playing the Uncharted series. Those I have been
Ooh.
moving over, and I'm going to wrap once I've wrapped those up, which I've got 2 games left on that.
Mm,
Those will be the last games I move.
mm,
Faith the Unholy Trinity, for example, that is actually going to stay on that the main channel where I streamed it.
right.
And once I've done with Uncharted, everything that I do is going to stay there. And like I said, I've got some uh, edited, created content that I'm planning for that channel, whereas the movie reviews
Mm,
are going to go to what I've been calling my meme channel.
right.
So I'm basically going to do like movie stuff, meme stuff solely on that larger channel and make that kind of my primary hub for where I
Nice.
do most of my stuff. Because, in all honesty, I have not done very much on that channel at all over the
Right.
recent months. That channel like blew up for a little while, like got to well over 4,000 subs just out of nowhere. I had one video that really took off
Mm,
and grew that channel by several thousand subscribers, which was great.
mm.
I literally bought my PC based on one video. It was great. Made one video that did really well, and I made a PC off of it. It was awesome. But
Nice.
I literally right before this stream was relabeling all my content on that channel as entertainment. I'm going to keep my memes there. I'm probably going to make more of those in the future.
Mm,
And part of the reason I'm doing that is because I feel like if I'm operating off of that channel, that motivates me more to make, content like the meme stuff on
right.
top of the movie stuff.
Mm,
Uh, and as for projects I've got going, I actually am, I've been retooling my video style and replanning it. And because I recently, I upgraded my editing software, I upgraded even my editing hardware. I bought like a
nice.
speed editor, which is pretty cool, by the way.
Mm,
Um, and I am going to be doing kind of a mix of remaking some of my old videos, and I'm going to
mm,
be like so. Basically, when I start moving my movie stuff over to the other channel, I don't want to just plop it over there and say, "Ha, it's the same stuff." I want
right.
to actually tweak some of it to where it's a little bit better than what it used to be.
Hmm.
Some of it I'm just flat out remaking entirely. The video I'm working on now is a full blown remake of a video I've already done.
Right.
It's literally twice as long too. Like the video version I did previously of that, on that particular movie was about 20 minutes long. I haven't. This is with nothing added to it.
Mm.
It's 40 minutes long
Oh,
already. Just the script I wrote was 40 minutes worth,
oh
and
goodness.
there are going to be things I add in there which will probably push it to somewhere between 42 to 45 minutes or something like that. I'm probably going to split that into 2 videos
Right.
because, but the idea is that and by the way, this is not a knock on anybody who does the other kind of content I mentioned here. It's just I look at movie review stuff as you're doing one of two things. Either you're taking kind of the Jeremy Johns like approach where Movie comes out, you watch it, you put out your review, you know, whether it's 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever.
Mhm.
There's your review. It's a nice quick hit.
Mhm.
And by the way, I like Jeremy Jahns quite a bit.
Mhm.
For somebody who does relatively short movie reviews, he's quite good at it. He actually
Yeah.
says some substantive things.
Mhm.
But, and I think even he would probably agree with this. Once you watch one of his videos, it's probably the only time you're going to watch it. It's not a video he does with a lot of rewatch value.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. That's totally
Mhm.
fine. The same is true of like channels that cover news and stuff like that.
Mhm.
More often than not, you're watching it once, if at all, but you'll watch it the one time. You're probably not going to watch it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 'cause the
Or, yeah, oh, good.
No, no, you're fine, go ahead.
Or you take the approach that, so about 2 months ago, and I've known of this content creator for probably 2 or 3 years,
Mhm.
because of EFAP. It's this fellow whose channel is called ER.
Yeah.
I've known who he was for a long time, but
Mhm.
I had never actually watched his stuff. I'd always heard how good it was, and like even some of the people on EFAP were like, you know, he doesn't put out stuff often, but it's the kind of content that it's worth waiting for. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I finally a couple months ago started to watch it,
Mhm.
and granted, I was already aiming for content like what I'm about to describe here, but
Right.
seeing his and another creator who's also on EFAP a lot of times, Jay Longbone, who, by the way, part of what I love about her stuff is just how fantastically edited it is.
Mhm.
If you want to just get editing ideas, watch someone like Jay Longbone. She's an excellent editor, or
Mm.
she's hired one, but I'm pretty sure she does her own.
Right.
I've seen her tweet about edits and stuff, and so I'm like, I'm pretty sure she does her own. She's
Mhm.
really good at it,
Nice.
and she's entertaining. But I started watching ER stuff, and it kind of, I guess, molded mentally what I was going for. Was it's this idea of evergreen content, right?
Right.
And a lot of people who are new to YouTube don't necessarily know what that means, but it's like evergreen content is basically content that never ages, on content that's always good.
Mhm.
And the philosophy, the way I would describe it, is it's not so much about the thing you're covering, it's that you're covering it.
Yeah.
That's what, like ER just about a week or so ago released a new video. It was
Mhm.
on that Netflix series Adolescent.
Oh,
I have not watched that. I really don't have any interest in watching it,
yeah.
but I've already watched ER's video on it 3 times
Mhm.
because it's a great video. It's really fun, it's really funny, and he has a lot, like, I've gone through his video playlist already. I've watched every video he's done at least twice.
Wow.
One of his videos, and again, I only started watching his stuff 2 months ago.
Mm.
He did a video on the game Life is Strange, which I have never played. I know
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
didn't know much about it. I knew it
Right.
was kind of styled like a Telltale game. I
Mhm.
didn't know how politically left it was. I figured it was at least a little bit based on
Yeah.
what I'd heard, but I didn't know just how. Like this one, woke may be kind of a term that's overused, but this, it fits that game perfectly.
Mhm.
I didn't realize how woke that game was, but then I watched his video on it. I've watched that video 6 times at least. It is so funny. I was
Mhm.
like, I've never played this game, so I don't have a dog in the fight
Right.
necessarily for whether he likes it or not. But I'll say this, he's got a couple videos where he talks about movies that he and I would just disagree on. Like
Mm.
he's covered. He did a video where he compared like Deadpool, the 2016 movie,
Right.
Deadpool to One Punch Man. 'Cause he doesn't like the 2016 Deadpool. I very much like it.
Uh-huh.
Uh, he did a video on Mad Max Fury Road. Didn't particularly love that movie. I love that movie,
Mhm.
but I love his videos on them because they're really entertaining. And I'm like, that's it. Kind of like I said, when I was watching his stuff, I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm wanting to aim for, is videos to where it's not so much what I'm covering that matters. Is I want the audience to be excited for just the fact that I'm putting something out there, and I want to give them the best piece of content I possibly can to where they are entertained by the fact that I am talking about something. It's like what the subject is secondary. I want people to enjoy what I'm talking about
Mm.
because I'm doing it in a way that's fun and funny and, informative or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's what I'm aiming for. That's why it's like, because when I saw that the video I'm working on now was going to be twice as long as the version I put out before, I was like,
Mhm.
dang, this is, I was like, there was that brief moment where I was in that old mindset. I was like, are people going to stick with this that long? And I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, that's not what you're aiming for. You're not aiming for the same kind of thing. You're aiming for them to enjoy the video. So if you're worried about the length, break it up into two. Break it
Yeah.
up in two parts. And the cool thing was when I got to about the halfway point of editing the audio, I realized, oh,
Mhm.
there's actually kind of a natural breaking point right in the middle, so it kind of works.
Nice.
But yeah, that's what I'm aiming for right now. I am in the editing bay, day by day, putting that together. I've just started editing the new video. I finished writing it recently and finished editing the audio. I'm finishing the intro stuff, and I'm just kind of as I go, I'm adding new things, adding little ideas here and there.
Mhm.
And that will. I don't know exactly when it'll be uploaded. It'll be
Mhm.
uploaded when it's ready. But it's I'm using this video, like I said, as a way of helping me to learn the new format I'm wanting to use, as well as learning to use the new editing tools that I have at my disposal.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what I got going on.
Nice. Yeah, and again, if you and continue to enjoy what you're doing, it'll never feel like work at all. But some people, again, you see out there that some content creators get burned out after a certain period of time. It's just a whole bunch of different stuff. But anyway, again, his links are down below. You can go check him out, and if he's worth a follow, why not? Right? Why not? You know,
Yeah,
I know.
follow me. I am your cult leader. Do it.
Take
Do
me to
it.
your leader. Oh, is that guy? He's a pumpkin head? No, thanks. No pumpkin head.
You follow, I lead.
Come with me, I'll help you live. But anyway, from my end of things, whether you're on the Rumble side or YouTube side, because I do stream to both arenas, if you would,
Real quick, while you're doing this,
yeah.
I'm gonna grab my controller.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, sure. Go
Yeah.
ahead. But anyway, whether you're on the Rumble side or the YouTube side, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing the content, leaving a comment or follow, anything that helps with the engagement factor is much appreciated because not only does it help being seen more, like all content creators, it also helps in having other people on, like the Gourd King, like Bill Dozer, like the real Tommy, and so many others. At the end of the day, I do this thing where I just converse about whatever comes our way, and it's been a great time. I've had on over 200 various guests, and I am on my way up for more because, again, it's about having conversations with people across the way, creator or not, because I've had people on who aren't considered creators, but I don't care because it's about just having conversations with others. So, any help with the engagement factor on either end, whether Rumble or YouTube, is much appreciated. Of course, I have a link down below as well. You can go to it. You can see my Twitter X. You can see my email. You can see my like a thing for Discord, but it's mostly just for DMing. I don't have a server. I can only focus on so much stuff because I do have a full time job. So I only have so much mental bandwidth. So anyhow, you just check that link out and find where it's at. But again, guys, um, any help with the engagement factor, and of course, that link down below. I appreciate you all. Again,
And I endorse everything he said while I was away, even if it was racist. He could have said something horrible. You know what? I don't care.
hey, I said something about pigs, so I don't know if that's racist or not, but
Actually, no, I don't. Hey, I don't like pigs that much. So, attack.
hey,
Pigs are
bacon,
gross. Unless to eat.
bacon is
They're
good.
great to eat. But
Yeah,
yeah.
bacon is good. Bacon is
I
love.
shouldn't say that. Pigs are actually kind of interesting. They're really smart, but
Yeah,
they
they'll eat.
they're really smart and they wallow in their filth. What does that tell you about intelligence?
They'll
What does
eat
it
just.
tell you about intelligence that the smartest animals are kind of the grossest ones?
They'll eat just about anything. So there's that too.
Yeah.
They're like goats, except bigger. Um, but yeah, it's
So, like,
they
wait a minute.
they eat just
I've
about.
never heard that comparison, and it put that basically. It's like, yeah, what are it's like? I can imagine telling it to the kids, like, "What's a pig?" Oh, it's like a goat but bigger.
Yeah.
It's like, is it? Is that all it is? Is that
Well,
the only difference?
they'll eat just about anything too. So I mean, you kind of got those two things working right there. So wait a second, that's all there is. Well, I mean, they got horns. They got the weird eye things, but other than that, they'll just eat about anything.
I mean,
Um,
some pigs have the tusks, I guess, like the warthog.
well,
So
yeah,
that's like
yeah,
horns in their mouth,
yeah. That's
or is it their nose? I can't remember.
no,
Is it
it's
coming out? Is it coming out of
tusks.
their mouth?
Yeah, tusks like warthogs or boars. That's right,
That's gotta
boars.
be really annoying. No wonder they're so mad all the time. got freaking horns coming out of your mouth. It's like, gosh, that's imagine trying to have a conversation when you got two horns coming out the sides of your mouth. It's like you're just it's illegible. They're never going to learn how to speak. We shouldn't why do we even say it's like, "Oh, I'll do that when pigs fly." It's like, why don't you just say, "I'll do that when warthogs have a legible conversation." Or they have a conversation you can understand. It's never going to happen. They have horns.
Well,
They
if
got
you're
horns coming out of their face.
yeah, if you're a Halo person though, you'll be like warhog. A warhog never speaks at all, but I can use it real well. Um,
Now you see. Now you're reminding me of Red versus Blue, where they have that whole conversation about how they're like, "It looks more like a puma, doesn't it?" Like, what's a puma? Are you making up animals?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then the other side, they're like, "Huh, that vehicle." It's like, which one? Oh, the one that looks like a puma. Oh yeah. One
yeah,
side of the conflict knows what a puma is. The other one's like, it's made up. It's like a unicorn.
yeah. No, that's hilarious. But yeah, Halo is definitely red versus blue is one of those things from the past that's sort of not much of a thing anymore after Rooster Teeth.
No, it's just it's a memory from a happier time and on the internet, arguably, because it's
Yeah,
that's when that's when you could just throw stuff out there like I mean, granted, I think you still could.
yeah,
I feel like I mean, you'd have to have whoever was gonna make it would have to have the stones to say I don't care about getting canceled or whatever. So let's
yeah,
just. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I don't think Red versus Blue is like super edgy,
yeah.
but I mean, for its time, it was a little bit.
Hmm.
But I mean, even by today's standards, I'm like, it's not. It's not. It's not one of those things I watch where I'm like, oh, they would never get away with that now. It's like, well, most of it they probably would, which is fine. It's
Yeah.
funny. It's funny stuff.
Well, that was sort of that's a weird thing too, is because that was sort of the thing with what was it DBZA, right? Dragon Ball Z
Hmm.
abridged, and there was a point where they were doing like a live stream, I guess. And they were going over old episodes, and at like one point he said, knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have made that joke. But I'm like, but that's not
Who
the
I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, why wouldn't you? What's
yeah.
wrong with making that joke? It's a joke.
Uh-huh.
Who freaking cares about it's a joke? By the way, since you brought that up,
Yeah.
and I always, anytime Dragon Ball Z Abridged gets brought up, I ask people, did you ever watch Naruto Abridged?
No, but
Okay, so
I did see the Yu-Gi-Oh one. There was the
okay,
Yu-Gi-Oh
well,
one.
I specifically bring it. So I haven't. Okay, I've only watched a little bit of Dragon Ball Abridged. I haven't seen anything from Yu-Gi-Oh Abridged, but I know that gets referenced in Naruto Abridged.
Hmm.
I highly recommend checking out Naruto Abridged. It's I think it's like they did. Okay, so it's literally the YouTube channel is called Ninja Bridge,
Mm.
and this was the first exposure I had to any of that. I didn't know what Dragon Ball Abridged was. My brother's friend told us about Naruto Abridged, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know what that is. What is? And he showed us, and it's really freaking fun. Now it has humor you definitely wouldn't get away with today,
Yep.
which is great.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like I'm trying to remember how many episodes it is. I want to say it's something like 8 episodes long. Like this person hasn't created anything in like a decade. Like it's long since it's been over for a long time.
Wow.
But he did I think 9 episodes, and then they did a spoof of I guess the Naruto movie, which is altogether about a half an hour long. But
Yeah.
it is freaking hilarious. Like even like what's kind of funny about it is even like the very first one. It's called Pilot No Jutsu, basically saying this is the pilot episode,
Yeah.
and it's almost like I'm curious if this was intentional or not because I don't know if you've ever watched a pilot like a legit pilot episode of a show,
Mhm.
and because usually the pilot episode and the show's first official episode are a lot of the times the same episode. It's just the official one is more refined.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
if you ever buy like the Blu-ray set of like the BBC Sherlock,
Mhm.
um, there's what's it called? A it's called A Study in Pink. That's the
Oh
first
yeah.
official episode.
Yeah.
Well, there's a pilot version of the exact same episode, and it's interesting. It's actually, I mean, and it's good enough to watch where it's actually pretty fun, but it's a less refined version of the one they put out on the BBC.
Mhm.
And if you go to Ninja Bridge's channel, it's like his pilot episode is, now granted, the second episode and the first episode are completely different, but
Mhm.
there are aspects of a legitimate pilot episode that are kind of there almost by accident. Like the voice of Naruto sounds very different in that episode than it does in later ones. Some of the voices sound the same, but like his in particular sounds very, very different. Because like one of the running jokes he has is that Naruto is a he's like a chain smoker, so he has like this really raspy voice, and he makes all these references to his constant smoking.
Yeah.
But in the very first episode, his voice sounded like that, like it had that rasp to it, but it just the tone of it was very, very different. Like
Mhm.
it's a massive difference. And there's a lot of little things like that littered throughout where you're like, wow, this almost really feels like a pilot episode. But
Yep.
holy crap, dude, the the spoof show, those 9 episodes are just freaking hilarious. They are so funny because basically it's a parody on top of a parody. Like literally, even there's a disclaimer at the beginning where like the following is a fan base parody of a fan
Yep.
base parody. So he's like, I am parodying Naruto while at the same time parodying Dragon Ball Evolution, Dragon Ball Abridged. I'm
Yeah.
parodying both of these things at the same time,
Mhm.
and holy crap, it's funny. It is so freaking funny and
Nice.
really, really well done. Uh, I mean, it is crude as all
Mhm.
get out. Like once you get from episode 5 on, you're like, dude, this is like this is some gross stuff. Like some of the jokes you're telling, but it's
Mhm.
undeniably funny. I mean, it's kind of, I would say like content wise, it's probably on a similar level to like Archer,
Oh,
but
yep,
I
yep.
guess a little less. I mean, Archer's technically has to censor some of its stuff because like it's on
Yeah.
FX, you can't say like the F word and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
its humor level is probably on a similar level of something like Archer. But holy crap, dude, I definitely recommend it. It's really funny.
They did, Archer did get away with saying ISIS, so there was that,
Oh
but,
sure. Well, here's the thing though. They were ISIS before we knew what ISIS was. We
Yeah.
didn't know what ISIS was when they were ISIS before ISIS. So
Uh-huh.
uh, in a way, those people over there stole it from Archer. So it's like, hey, what are you gonna do? It's like it's not our fault.
Yeah, exactly, it was I remember when that came out because it was like it was just a weird pointed thing, and I again, I didn't watch it religiously, I only caught glimpses here and there because, again, YouTube, right? You can go to YouTube and find glimpses. I always liked the sort of back and forth between, Archer and, Barry, they're at the space station, he's like,
Mhm.
"Archer, come out to play."
Oh, dude, you brought up the space episode. I have a great story on Archer. But by the way, part of what I love about this conversation is there's no direction to this conversation whatsoever. I don't know if you noticed that, but we're
Yeah,
just one thing, next thing, next thing, next thing.
that's
There's
what
no direction whatsoever. It's
yeah,
great.
that's
Um,
that's what Darachat is. It's what always
yeah, yeah.
because
It's like I would love to see, like, I don't know if you know who that darn kid is, but she does these she's a cool content creator. She does these like diagrams of like how a certain subject gets from one point to the next to the next. I started watching like her stuff. It's like, and I've interacted with her a few times here and there, but I was like, oh,
nice.
that's actually, I didn't realize what she did on your channel. That's actually pretty cool. But anyway,
Yeah.
I would love to see her almost like try to apply that style to a conversation like this. You'd be like, whoa, this goes all over the place. But
Well,
anyway, so
yeah, and that's the I think that's and just kind of interjecting a bit is that I think that's kind of one of the things where when trying to bring people on, because I think I was trying to explain it to you the first time around, is that it's just a free flowing thing
oh yeah.
because I mean I followed a lot of different before I even started creating content. I was like everyone else, I started consuming content and all that stuff of other people, and for a while now, for a while during that time period, I thought, oh well, maybe I could try and do that sort of content creation thing, but I never got the gumption to do it. And then when I finally did, I really didn't aim for the arena I'm in now. It was more of like just try something and see where it goes. But I tried gaming. That was all right. Streaming gaming, whatever. And then it came to sort of like having people on for just a conversational point, and then something just clicked there, and it's like it just went off. Because there are a lot of people talk, a lot of content creators who talk about the entertainment industry, the political stuff, all this stuff, and it's all, whatever it is. Never, don't listen to me about making content. Just do what you want, because content should be about
Well, yeah,
what
it's
you
just
want to
you're
create.
engaging people's interests. It's
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, to me, it's like you're almost kind of doing something similar to what to, I guess, what Craig Ferguson would do on his Late Late Show, right?
exactly. That's what I
Whereas
want.
you toss out the question card and you just let the conversation flow and see where
Hmm.
it goes. And if you watch now, granted, he had to do it in smaller segments and
Yeah.
whatever, but yeah, it's you never really know where a conversation. It's like they might bring up the latest thing that the person is doing, but
Hmm.
for the most part, he's like, who gives a crap about this pretentious stuff? It's like, let's just talk and have a
Yeah.
good time. And, your interest will come out if you're, if you're an interviewer, just, let's just get
Yeah.
talking and see where the conversation takes us,
Well,
you know?
yeah, and that's a funny thing too, is because someone had asked me like, "Okay, how do you describe your show, or what do you do?" And sort of the free flowing. But then I was like, the two that sort of things, like the Craig Ferguson show, and also Whose Line Is It Anyway, were kind of
Mhm.
sort of the inspirations, because they both rely on a form of improvisation. Now, obviously, Whose Line is more improvisation stuff, but then you have the Craig Ferguson show, where he could just do it. Right? He wasn't,
Mhm.
he was a Scottish guy. He was a Scottish gentleman, all that sort of stuff, and he would do it. But he wouldn't, people would be on there to promote a movie, a book, or whatever, and majority of the time they wouldn't even get to that. A show, they wouldn't even get to that. Especially if it was a pretty lady on, then you'd have a real show right there.
Mhm.
But the point of the matter is that you could really go anywhere. And for me, I wanted to do something like that, because once you pick your niche, it's sort of, you're kind of just stuck with it. And sort of, yeah, and there's some content creators that try something else, to try to do something new. But for a while, it was sort of like it felt like the people I was following, they weren't really just having a conversation about whatever. They were really talking about the subject on, because a lot of content creators are topic oriented. They pick out the topic they're talking about, whether it's current thing or maybe a old game or whatever, which is fine. Again, I'm not here to tell you what to create. I'm just giving you my perspective of what I saw. And so for me, it was like, why not just try this thing of doing something where there's no beginning point to it. I mean, there's a beginning point, like introductions and stuff, but there's no real beginning point of what the topic is. And for having on over 200 guests at this point, it goes to show that there's a real kind of need for that sort of thing, where I don't have to create of, okay, so we're gonna talk about the whole Ubisoft, or we're gonna talk about what the new game is, whatever. I can go wherever with this. I can go to the top of the mountains, to the lowest point in the sea, and there's no stop, and there's no point I can't stop at in between, because I really do believe people, to some degree, want that more, rather than, I mean, yes, they'll want the stuff like talking to politics, talking on gaming, or some form of it, Hollywood, all this stuff. But I really do believe free flowing conversations have a very a potency to them, because people do. People, you would think it'd be the easiest thing to do, but when you try to bring someone on, or a few people that I've tried to bring out, they've always, to some degree, have said, "Well, I'm anxiety ridden. I don't know what I would say. I really don't think I have anything interesting to say," or stuff like that. And I'm like, "You don't really know who you're talking to, do you?" But I think that's sort of the thing, where it's sort of, you start seeing that sort of self defeatism at the very beginning of it. It's like, because I don't believe I have anything interesting to say. How do you know that if you've never tried,
Well,
right?
not only that, it's I think what this type of, and going back to what Craig Ferguson did, it's so funny if you look at when he retired and kind of where celebrity went from there. And I'm not saying it's as a result of him retiring. I'm just saying, boy, what a missed opportunity, because there were very few interviewers that
Mm,
made celebrities look good the way he did. And I'm not talking about their appearance. I'm talking about, if you wanted to like a celebrity, his was the show to watch,
yeah.
because when you get people talking in kind of a free flowing conversation, you're learning who they are a bit.
Mm,
And granted, some people who are a little bit uncomfortable with that, yeah, it can be hard to say. It's okay. What on earth am I going to talk about? What I don't know if it's like, well, it's because you're thinking of it in a framework of what am I gonna. It's like I don't really have anything to say on this subject or this subject or this subject. It's like, well, then we don't have to talk about those subjects.
Yeah.
You can talk about what you like, and it's like because I. You're not empty. It's like you have
Yeah.
things I'm sure you're interested in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, shoot. I mean, to me, it's like okay, if you're a nervous person and you're not sure about what you're going to talk about, the easy quick thing to ask is like, okay, well, just tell me right now, what are you interested in? Like,
Mm.
oh, I'm interested in such and such. It's like, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And it's like we'll just go from there and we'll see what happens. And
Yeah.
it might be a 30-minute conversation. I mean, it's like once you kind of get them to where it's like, look, we don't have to talk for an hour, we don't have to talk for 2 hours, we can talk for 30 minutes. It's like, whatever,
Mhm.
and we'll just let the conversation go. It's like I'll hold your hand through it if I have to, but
Yeah.
whatever. We'll just go from there and see what happens. And like Craig Ferguson was actually really freaking good at that
Yeah.
because some of the guests he would bring on, you could tell were not fully comfortable in that free form. Like I remember he brought Gina Carano on, and you can tell Gina Carano is she's a pretty quiet person
Yeah.
uh outside of you know the Hollywood spotlight. I mean, it's like she's not somebody who's like super duper talkative.
Mhm.
She's pretty shy, and but he had her on, I think I want to say 3 times,
Yeah.
and he could always get it to where it was like it was a fun little discussion because he could extract those things she's interested in
Mhm.
and manage to get a little bit out of it, or just make the conversation about nothing, just a little, just little things that everybody can say something about. It's like, oh, like what, like I remember he had Carrie Mulligan on, and they ended up going over stuff about like the texture of like different foods and stuff like that. I mean, it's just these little goofy things that you can bring a
Yeah.
conversation to, and it's like
Yeah.
you don't have to have an opinion on it. It's just like it's like, oh, now I'm thinking about it, and that's going to cause you to say something. He
Yeah.
was really good at that. And this is what I mean when I say this was such a missed opportunity for Hollywood, because those interviews would tend to endear you to the
Mhm.
person he was talking to. I mean,
Mhm.
like, it's funny to look at some of those clips now,
Mhm.
particularly of celebrities that we kind of look at today like, ew, like I
Mhm.
know too much about them now.
Yeah.
And then, but if you can for a moment detach yourself from what you know about them now and just watch the interview, you're like, gosh, if I didn't know what I know, I'd like this person right now,
Yeah.
because they're just engaging in these just everyday funny little conversations. And plus, when you have somebody like Craig Ferguson who just so effortlessly can
Yeah.
make you laugh or charm you,
Yeah.
uh, it's it's hard not to enjoy yourself while you're watching and kind of mentally associate that with the guest he has on.
Mhm.
It's really, it's like he made celebrities look so good. And man, if they kept the mindset more onto that than just, hey, we've got to get our political messages out there,
Mhm.
people wouldn't. I mean, because I remember growing up not really caring that. I remember, I still remember to this day the first celebrities whose political opinions I heard. I
Mhm.
still remember for some reason.
Mhm.
I It was during the Bush Clinton election. I was a
Right.
kid.
Right.
I'm like something like 8 or 9 years old when this is going on. And I remember like briefly catching like one of those Access Hollywood or Entertainment Tonight things, and they were talking about the election, and they had Helen Hunt, who was on Mad
Mhm.
About You, saying she
Right.
supported the Democrats, and you had Kelsey Grammer, who's on Frasier, saying he supports the Republicans. And
Uh-huh.
that's the only thing we heard, and it wasn't necessarily intrusive or anything. It was just the first time I'd ever heard that. So I
Yeah.
was aware of it at that point, but later you're in later I'm watching movies like Twister and stuff that has Helen Hunt, and I'm like, I'm aware she's a Democrat, and I don't agree with, the Democrat platform. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't care. This is a good movie. I don't
Yeah.
care that she's a Democrat right now. I like her in this movie. She's good looking. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, if you've got interviewers who are bringing out that side of people's personalities, who gives a crap about their politics at that point? You're like, yeah, this is good stuff. This makes this person appear human.
Yeah.
Rather than just hearing a bunch of people bloviate about their art and how important it is and how this is going to save lives and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have them talking about like the texture of an orange and
Yeah.
just goofy stuff like that. Like he even, I mean, you want to talk about him getting something conversationally out of someone who's typically not talkative. watch his conversation with Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is very private. He's
Yeah.
a very private guy.
Yeah.
And that very much shows in their conversations. And Craig just plays it so cool because he gets him talking about like motorcycles because he knows Keanu rides motorcycles, and
Yeah.
he can put in a few jokes that he knows is going to get him to laugh. And they have this fun little back and forth to where it's like Keanu's not working overtime to try to be charming. He's just being himself, and Craig's being himself, and he's
Mhm.
doing his joke thing. It's like great talk. Listen to them, and I'm granted Keanu doesn't need a lot of help to be likable, but it's just
Yeah.
even with somebody who's shy, he manages to extract those things from it to make them seem more human and a little less detached from every other person's reality. It's like,
Yeah.
gosh, Hollywood, if you all would be doing so much better if you just told your talk show host be a little bit more like that. Let
Yeah.
let's not talk about all this stuff and telling people how to think. Let's just have some casual fun talks. Conan O'Brien was pretty good at it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but Craig was just a master at it. Gosh, he was good at it. He
Yeah.
was good at making you. I mean, I still can go back and watch some of those clips of these interviews, and like I said, I'm watching some of these celebrities who I know politically where they stand, and I know some of these awful things that they've said, and I'm just like, but for these few minutes, you're like, there's a human being under. If you peel some of it back, there's actually a human being that might be kind of likable under there.
Yeah.
It's almost it's simultaneously interesting and sad at the same time. And I'm like, gosh, you all really should have gone this direction.
Yeah. And no, yeah, exactly. And for me, it's like I don't, I do my, I don't really call them interviews because you already see the interview format, ask questions, all that stuff. I sort of see it like just a conversational thing. I mean, that's why it's called Darachat. It's not called, and that was another thing too. Is I called it Darachat because a lot of people would just call it cast at the end of the show, like a podcast thing. So like, oh, Dara, I could do Daracast, whatever. But I'm like, let's do something different. Let's try to call it something else. And Darachat was just the thing that came up. And but yeah, I take inference from that because again, I don't really call it an interview. I really don't just stick with content creators, but because I do think the field kind of needs to be widened to talking to just about anyone. And yeah, there's a risk to that. And that's an understandability of why some content creators don't do that. But there's a risk I take with inviting people on I know very little about and they don't create content. But at the end of the day though, the most important part of this is that I'm reaching across places that aren't constrained to platforms. I've talked to people to Twitch, I've talked to people from YouTube, I've talked to people from Rumble, Kick, all this sort of stuff. I'm not stuck to one place. I'm not stuck to one subject. But the amount of fantasticism that can come out of just having someone on and seeing where it can go. And yeah, there is that disarmament of that nervousness, right? That we talked about, the anxiety or nervousness. And there were some people, very few, that it was hard to sort of like trying to get water out of stone. But the point of the matter is that's also a challenge to overcome for my end of things because that can help with the next person that comes on and the next one and so forth. And for me, it's just about having the conversation about whatever because you already have enough people talking about politics, you already have enough people talking about the gaming industry or the news or whatever. And for me, I just want to do this thing that almost that almost seems so simple on the surface, but when you get down to it, a lot of people have trouble with it. And just like you were saying with what Craig Ferguson had, because I remember when he had Mara on, was it Katie Mara or something like that? I
Oh,
can't
the
remember.
redhead.
Yeah, when she came on, she was. It seemed like she had drank a bit, that she was drunk,
I
and
know the
and
conversation you're talking
yeah,
about.
and she was on twice. But the point of the matter is, though, is that he handled himself well and all that stuff. But
Well, yeah, I mean, it was just this fun, like
mm,
funny, flirty conversation where. Now, granted, like I honestly, I don't know if she was legitimately drunk.
yeah,
She was sort of. I mean, she was kind of. I've seen one guest on there who I think was definitely a little drunk, though he handled that one great too. I mean, she wasn't like out of her mind drunk or anything,
yeah,
where it was embarrassing, but you
mm,
could tell. It's like, I mean, she even admitted it's like she had something before, and he was like, yeah, okay, no problem, we'll work with that.
yeah,
But yeah, gosh, that conversation with Kate's funny because that's the one a lot of people point to is like that's the flirtiest conversation.
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, that one's up there definitely. And gosh, Kate, phew, back then, I mean, she's not bad looking now. I mean, but it's like
yeah,
ooh, back then, that was her at her kind of her attractiveness apex.
Yeah.
So her being that flirty, you're just, as a guy, there's like this is entertaining just on that level, because you just imagine it's like, huh, I wouldn't mind a girl flirting with me like this. It's like,
Yeah.
this is actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Y-
it's funny. I still like I watched clips of him today. I think I watched something of his at least once a week. I'll watch something from him, whether it's something from that show or
mm,
uh, watching him even talk about like the way he converses with people. Like I actually watched one this week where he was talking to some podcasters about how, because they were talking about, dude, you're so good at like flirting with people or stuff like that, and he was like, well, you know, he goes, think. He goes, okay, let's, because they're like, how do you do that? If someone's really shy but they want to talk to a woman, it's like, what would you tell them to do? And he goes, tell them you're nervous. He's like, what are you feeling in that moment when you're with this attractive person? You
mm,
can, he goes, that's a conversation starter right there.
yeah.
Is, uh, you know, it's funny because the moment he said this, my mind started jumping to some of these conversations he's had with some of these women, where
Mm,
he'll say stuff like, I'm finding it very hard to talk to you right now, because he's like, I'm putting it out there that I'm distracted by this attractive woman flirting with me with the nice, like, her shoulders are showing, she
mm,
looks really pretty right now.
yeah.
It's like he's putting out exactly what he's thinking, and he's just doing it in a way that's very effortless. He's very comfortable with telling you exactly what's going through his head without being, too graphic or gross with the detail or anything. But he's like,
Yeah.
that's a good conversation starter right there. It's like, if you don't know like the really hip cool thing to say to a girl, it actually could be quite flattering to tell her, it's like, you know, I'm actually really nervous to talk to you right now, because you're really, it's like, you're pretty good looking. This is tough for me. And it's like, that's a good because that's not the worst conversation starter right there. That breaks the ice in a way. And I'm like,
Yeah.
he's onto something there.
Yeah, and again, it's I personally am doing this again and having over so many people on. I do truly believe that conversations can be powerful just in their own right and having them, because how often in a day, beyond the scope of what you create for your content and all the different things, how what's the scope of the day where you just sit down and you don't start from any point at all? You're at the middle of a map, right? And there are no landmarks, there are no points of reference or whatever for you to just grab onto and say, okay, here you go. Because for me and my end, usually it's what someone says that can point to like that little piece of golden nugget that you can eventually come back to and say, okay, we can explore this. Because again, you are right. There were points where it was a like or something or other of what somebody like to have or whatnot. There are gold nuggets within a conversation one could go back to and kind of explore those and kind of, maybe you could say strip the mind, but you don't really want to do that. But again, now like the last time you were on, it also lends itself to the next time you come on, because if you are so open in the field of a conversation, right? At least, not so like it seems so like the appearance of it is not so big to the person who comes on. They just see you and maybe not what's up ahead. Because if it's too much space, right? People kind of get a little scared and stuff. That all
Mhm.
sort of thing. But if you just give enough viewing point, right? And you kind of just take it wherever. And sometimes it's not even you taking it wherever. It's the conversation itself, and that is like the silver bell sort of thing, right? With like squirrel over there or whatever you want to call it. The distraction kind of takes you wherever. And like you were saying with the that one content creator who kind of just draws lines and stuff, the amount of bouncing around that can happen can be so tremendous that at the end of it you don't really know how you started, but you glad where you end up at. And again, it lends itself to another time, because I really do believe you could have a never ending conversation that, yeah, there may be some time in between before the next one, but at the end of the day though, you can come back and there's something new to talk about, or there's something that you thought of from last time that you didn't get to say and you could talk about it, or this over here you could talk about. There's a whole assortment of things that can happen. And that's why I do it, because I really didn't see very much of it else, because everyone does their niche thing or whatever. And yeah, this is can be considered a niche of sort, because I mean, I know I don't do the thing that gets all the views or stuff, but that's not the point of why I do it. the point is to kind of make those connections of across the way, and just, at a like a old diner, or you're at some place where it's like a family and you just talk like a dinner table, right? You're sitting at the dinner table with your family and you're talking about different aspects. It's sort of like that too. There was I don't know if you know, I've ever heard of Theo Vaughn,
Yeah.
but I was watching a clip of one of his shows, and he's had like a bunch of different high level people on, but he's also had people
Hmm.
considered trash people, whatever. But there was one point where it was a clip of him and Cat Williams. But the thing it was that amazed me is that in the preview was just it was just him, Cat Williams, and two microphones, and that was it. And I was just like, when you go see Joe Rogan, there's nothing against Joe Rogan, but when you go see Joe Rogan, he has his table completely compiled with stuff, computer stuff, items that he's kept, and all stuff. And it really should be that really distracts of having the focus on the two people there. Because for me, I have had always had the vision of, like, maybe having a house with a guest house. And again, this wouldn't be a place that's just used as a studio. It'd be a place that's already lived in. Like, you could go to the fridge in the background and grab something out of the fridge, that sort of stuff. But at the end of it, there'd be little to no technology in front of the camera, because you want the focus to be on the two people or three people that are there. Because it really feels like a lost art that's kind of slowly dipped out, because we're so, we got our technology, we've got all this different stuff and all that, and we're kind of separated from the fact that we all started with, this sort of thing of just conversation, whatever it may be, however it may be. And I know for some people that's kind of off-putting, because again, many people are used to a structured sort of thing with the content creators field. Like, you'll talk about the gaming industry or whatnot. But for me, I feel I feel and think that if you have enough open space, the amount of conversation and to where the conversation go can do tremendous amount of wonder. And that's really where I work from, because it's, Bob Ross, right? Everyone would watch Bob Ross paint these incredible mountainous regions and trees and all that stuff. And yeah, he did have to practice beforehand too, but you still could see some greatness out of that sort of blank canvas that sort of paints itself a picture and whatnot. And and that's what I feel like doing with this, because at the end of the day, though, it's about creating the content you want to create, enjoying the content, because again, you do have a lot of people out there, content creators too, who burn out, who get tired of the trying to upkeep with the algorithm and so forth and so on, and
Oh
it
yeah.
really,
See
yeah,
all the-
and yeah. Oh no, what were you saying?
Oh no,
Sorry.
I was like, yeah, just burnout. I see that with a lot of people all the time. It's like I'll be honest, like, and this again, this is not a knock on anybody who covers this kind of thing, but to me, covering news, like the day to day stuff,
Hmm.
has got to be the biggest tightrope
Hmm.
of any subject that you're going to cover on YouTube. I mean, I would just anybody who hears this conversation, if you have it in mind to cover news, you need to understand something. You are walking a tightrope,
Hmm.
and what I mean by that is if number one, if your channel is built on the news,
Hmm.
then you're basically it's like you're hoping people click because the story is interesting, right?
Hmm.
There are days, sometimes weeks, where there's granted it's going to depend on the subject you're covering, but
Yeah.
there's sometimes just not interesting things to talk about.
Yeah.
So when you hit those lulls, this is where your integrity is going to be a major factor, because you can either be innovative and
Mhm.
try to do something a little bit different in those moments,
Mhm.
or you do what 99% of news people do. You sensationalize, which means it is the easiest trap in the world to fall into, because sometimes you don't really realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're you kind of just almost you just I think for some of them it's just they subtly lower the bar for what's really newsworthy. Like say
Mhm.
For example, you've got somebody like if you have somebody who does a lot of content on woke stuff in games. Well, let's say there's a period. I mean, the natural question you ask, because a lot of these people will often harken back to time periods where that wasn't a problem.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, what is going to happen if we ever reach that point again? What
Mhm.
are you going to talk about? Because right now, you're building your content off of that stuff existing. What
Mhm.
happens to you when that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, what I see from people who cover news
Mhm.
is they lower the bar for what counts as woke or non-woke. It's like depending on what side of the aisle you're on. If you're more on the right, it's like I start to see people really lower the bar for what they call woke. Or if
Right.
they're on the left side, I see people, really lower the bar for what's considered, triggering or whatever. Like, I mean, granted, we went through a whole, you know, era of that kind of nonsense and we're kind of
Yeah.
coming out of it now, but now it's what's interesting is that really since the previous election I'm seeing more and more creators sensationalize what counts as wokeness anymore, and I'm like, this is nuts because
Mhm.
the reality is it's like like for video games and movies right now
Mhm.
there are things to talk about,
Yeah.
but I mean granted with movies are there politics still in movies that's a problem. Yeah, there's
Mhm.
some, but the major issue going on with movies and games right now really isn't messaging,
Mhm.
it's quality. The
Right.
quality is just paltry at the moment. I'd say more for movies than for games actually. There's some good stuff out there right now that's coming out. I mean, just this last like month or two, it's actually been pretty good to games.
Mhm.
Um I mean, not spectacular, but we've had a few. I mean, we had, Oblivion got remastered. I'm hearing a lot of good stuff about that.
Yeah.
There was that game Expedition 33's come out very recently. I hear a lot of people talking about how good that is,
Mhm.
but I'm also seeing people trying to jump in and trying to turn it into a like I see creators out there who are like saying, "Oh my gosh, Oblivion removed male and female option. Now it's body type 1 or body type 2." And I'm like, "And?"
Mhm.
Like, and they will literally call this like, "This is an inflection point. You have to take a side." And I'm just like, "This is embarrassing. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?" Because from what I've heard from the people who actually play it, they're like, "Okay, I agree the type 1, type 2 thing's stupid. To
Yeah.
not it's like, yeah, it male or female, it should be that. But A, this game isn't the first one to do it.
Yeah.
I don't I sincerely doubt you had the same energy, say, when Demon Souls Remake did that. Demon Souls
Mhm.
Remake was several years ago, did the
Mhm.
same thing. Body type 1, body type 2,
Yeah.
same thing. But all of the dialogue, if you choose the male body type,
Mhm.
talks to you like you're a male. If you choose the
Mhm.
female body type, they talk to you like you're a female. So I'm like, is this really worth talking about? I mean, to me, the only thing worth saying is, yeah, that's kind of dumb. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the end of the conversation. But I see people trying to blow an issue like this up into this huge thing. And I'm like, I, I'm sorry, you're going to lose more people than you gain if that's what you do. And it's selfish to me because I'm like, these people who do stuff like this don't really care about the thing they say they fight for. And again, this is what most people who cover the news have a side they're fighting for, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I
Yeah.
mean, you're fighting for your side. That's fine. If you think you're in, if you're in a culture battle and you're trying to win it, that's fantastic, wonderful.
Right.
But if you have to sensationalize, then what you're telling me is that it's not really about the culture battle anymore. It's about you making sure you get clicks. It's
Yeah.
not really about your side winning because if you had any sense of strategy right now, you would see that this is one of those because like if this is the only problem with the game
Mhm.
and the rest of the game is really really good,
Mhm.
telling a bunch of people they shouldn't play it because of because of literally the text on the screen when you start the game up,
Mhm.
that's I mean when we boil it down to its bare bones, what you're telling people is because this says type 1 and type 2 instead of male and female, you shouldn't spend money on this game that you would otherwise love.
Mm. Yeah.
You're going to lose way more people than you bring over.
Mhm.
So, but you might get a lot of clicks in the moment, because if you're telling people beforehand, when your video comes out, such and such game is super woke, then people are like, oh, well, how? And you click on the video, boom, they're getting paid, and you're listening to them talk, they're getting paid, and then you find out it was just over this, and you're like, that's it? Really? That's it? I mean, it's clickbait. It's clickbait. It's sensationalism. And again, it's the easiest trap in the world to fall into if you cover the news. That's why it's like, look, if you are someone who is going to cover the news
Mhm.
and you give any ounce of crap about your reputation and your integrity,
Mhm.
just know that you are walking a tightrope, and there are going to be times where you're going to have to find something else to do if
Mhm.
you want to keep the money rolling in, or you want to keep the views flowing, you want to keep the
Yeah.
subscribers coming, because there are just times where it's not all that eventful. And you should be thinking along those lines when you're first starting anime, because what happens if you win? If you
Yeah.
win, that stuff that you were talking about before that was getting you all those clicks and getting you all those subscribers,
Mhm.
guess what? That's not there anymore. Or at least it's not there in large enough quantities to really worry about it.
Yeah.
Granted, you always will. I mean, realistically, you always have to be on guard against it. But
Mhm.
uh, if you win, then the news should be a little bit different. And like I
Mhm.
said, if a lot of these content creators really wanted to go after like some major issues we have with entertainment,
Yeah.
like I said, with movies, biggest problem with movies right now is just our standards are just in the toilet at the moment, and so
Mhm.
is the quality of the stuff. I mean, I think one of the most depressing things I'm seeing right now is not only that a movie like Minecraft got made, it's that
Yeah.
people like it. I'm sorry. I'm not mad at people for liking what they like. It's just
Yeah.
it's the lack of. I have a hard time with people not understanding that there's a difference between liking something and it being good. And
Yeah.
Minecraft, to me, like, it does disappoint me that Minecraft is as successful it is, because the message that's going to send to the studio is that video games, all you have to do is drop some member berries, and
And Jack Black.
that member berries and Jack Black, that's probably enough. He has been in the two most successful video game
Yeah.
movies, and both of now granted, Mario is not as egregious on this. I mean, it's as egregious as far as the member berries goes, but at the very least, it's a slightly better movie than mine. I'm kind of on, like, I almost feel like sometimes I'm on a one man campaign against it. I know I'm not the only person who thinks this way, but in my own like circle of friends,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure I hate Minecraft more than anybody. I,
Right.
I like that is one of the worst experiences I've ever had watching a movie. I despise that movie because
Mhm.
I when I see stupidity, kind of tends to depress me a little bit. Like,
Right.
and to me, Minecraft is a movie that is just, its foundation is pure stupidity, and
Mhm.
it's disappointing because, a, again, just stupidity in general I think is not a good thing, but
Mhm.
b, it's because, my gosh, Minecraft is something you could build something really creative out of as a
Yeah.
movie. You know how I know that? Because we have Lego Movie, and Lego Movie is really freaking good, and
Yeah.
they're very conceptually similar. And I'm like, gosh, they could have done something really interesting and creative with Minecraft as a concept, and we just get memes and Jack Black and a
Yeah.
story that makes no sense and characters that are nothing. And I'm like, it's just pure
Yeah.
stupidity. But haha, chicken jockey.
Yeah.
Ugh. I'm like, please just kill me. It's like I hate that stuff. Uh,
And Lava
and there's
Chicken.
just
Don't forget Lava
it's like
Chicken.
there's nothing. Yeah, I wish I could forget it. Uh, but I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, y'all realize the message we're sending to students. I mean, if you had any thoughts on like the Legend of Zelda adaptation being good, we might as well throw that out the window. Legend of Zelda adaptation is going to be awful. Granted, it was going to be awful the second they decided to do it in live action, but
Yeah.
I'm like, all your all Legend of Zelda now is going to have to do is throw in references to the games, and I am 99% certain that is going to be the movie. Is just references to the previous games,
Mhm.
and I'm willing to bet a lot of people are going to like it for that alone. It probably will be a lot less serious than people probably want. Zelda's a
Yeah.
relatively serious story generally, but
Yeah.
it's probably going to more follow the tonal format as of that old cartoon, which
Mhm.
cartoon has its campy charm, but I wouldn't want to make a movie off of it where, Link's like almost like a surfer dude's like, "Excuse me, Prince." I'm like, I don't want Link to be that guy. That was goofy. I want Link to be, kind of the stoic
Yeah.
hero. I
Yeah.
don't want him to be a goofball, but in all likelihood, we're going to get something like Mario or Minecraft. It's going to be awful. You might have, I mean, granted, maybe it'll be like my best hope for the Zelda movie will be it'll
Mm.
be so bad that people will wake up and say, "Oh, okay, you had your dumb fun. Can we make some good movies now? Can we please?" Because I actually have for a long time I for a long time thought that video games actually could be a legitimate gold mine for good movies.
Mhm.
One of the most disappointing movies of the last decade was the Uncharted adaptation. Uncharted should have been a
Yeah.
slam dunk.
Yeah.
It is such an easy video game series to make a good movie from. That video game was born to be a good movie adaptation
Mhm.
because it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
It's basically Indiana Jones set in a more modern setting. It's
Yep.
really what it is. And you have a very, you have charming characters. You have, kind of, relatively B grade movie villains, but that are serviceable. That, I mean, if you do them right, they can be really fun. And if you put a
Yeah.
good actor behind it, it could be awesome. But Uncharted, there's no reason that adaptation had to be botched. And
Mhm.
gosh, they ruined that. I mean, it's like, what were you all thinking? And granted, I haven't seen the full movie, but I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I'm just like, holy crap,
Yeah.
this is rough. I don't want to watch this whole thing. It's terrible. But gosh, there are some video game stories out there that are so good that
Yeah.
you could make something excellent from. And what are audiences telling these studios? You don't have to throw in the memes. You'll make the money. And I'm just like, no, I don't want more. Enough slop. I don't want more slop. I want good stuff because we're not 20. The 2020s have been really rough so far. We've not had that many good movies in the 2020s.
Right.
It's been rough.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but again, the like of a movie, whatever, is very dependent on the person, and I mean,
Sure.
for people who count the box office as a success, Minecraft did prove that, regardless of what people
Oh,
think of
sure.
the.
Minecraft's done spectacularly. It's right now the second highest. It was the second video game movie to cross the half billion
Yeah,
uh,
half
dollar
billion.
mark,
Yeah,
and there's a
global.
chance it's going to be the highest grossing video game movie of all time. I think it's at over 800 million worldwide. So
Yeah,
it's got some work to do to cross
finish
that
line.
threshold, but
Yeah,
it's it's looking like it's got a shot at surpassing Mario, which granted I mean I don't think Mario's especially I don't think it's Mario's anything special. I was like it's fine. It's like a
yeah,
5 out of 10 maybe.
yeah,
Um but I was like it promised something potentially better if they actually, moved away from just constant references and actually tried to make something a little more substantive of it. But
yeah.
it really seems like Minecraft is just a worse version of what Mario did, and I'm like, oh gosh, is this what I've got to expect from video game movies moving forward? Like the only one oddly that I have some hope for because I think they had the makings of something kind of good with the
Mhm.
first movie they did
Right.
was they did the movie the R-rated Mortal Kombat movie,
Yeah.
which uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm here. Everyone, I'm here. It's
How's
okay.
what happened there? Looks
No.
like we're still live though, so that works.
Yeah, no, we're still good. It's just a bit of a hiccup, but no, yeah, I know the previous Mortal Kombat movie, which kind of just changed the story.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and I mean, and I guess what I was going into there was the R-rated Mortal Kombat movie. I wouldn't say it was a good movie necessarily,
mm,
but it had the structure to do something good. It had some really good ideas. It actually had a couple of really cool characters, and like probably the worst thing they did in that movie is they killed off Kano, and I was like, dang it, Kano was actually fantastic in that movie. Kano's the best thing about that movie, but
yeah,
it did the gore, and that was pretty cool. This
mm,
I kind of wish they had just stuck with the story they set up at the very beginning of the movie, because the opening to that movie is actually pretty awesome.
Mm,
Where they set up like the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub Zero, and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be the movie. It's going to be Scorpion and Sub Zero. Then Scorpion doesn't show up till the end, and I was like, oh, that
yeah.
sucks. And they introduce that new guy, and you're like, this guy's a tool. Kill him off. So, do I think it's going to be good? The sequel? I'm like, I don't know, but my hope is that the guy who's making, because I'm convinced that the main character of the first one was a self insert.
Mm,
My hope is that he will have the self awareness to kill that character off very quickly.
yeah.
I'm like, dude, kill this guy off. Nobody gives a crap about him. He's the worst thing about your movie. I'm like, look, maybe you had this internal fantasy of, ooh, I'm a Mortal Kombat character, but nobody likes you. If that's the case, do the smart thing, detach yourself from him, let him die
Mm,
quickly, bring in Scorpion, make him, and like, yeah, heck, their version of Liu Kang was pretty cool. Or, it's like there was something there. You've
mm,
heck find a way to bring back some of your other characters like Kano or whatever. Pull them from another dimension. Nope, who gives a crap?
yeah.
Bring the characters back that we like, and build. I mean, it's a Mortal Kombat story. It doesn't have to be anything profound. It just needs to be fun and relatively coherent, and that will make so many people happy, because you'll have that, like, okay, like everybody who saw the OG Mortal Kombat movie, including
Mm,
myself, saw it in the theater and
yeah.
watched it many times, agrees that yes, it's a dumb movie, but it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Imagine doing an adaptation like that, but also having the R-rated fatality aspect. That would
Mm,
make everybody happy. It's like, it's that simple. It doesn't have to be profound, just has to
mm,
be relatively decent. You've already got the blood and the gore, which everybody likes with the Mortal Kombat stuff. You could make a ton of money just by doing that. I mean, you can, like I said, kill off the character you had from the last one,
yeah.
get rid of him. And I know they're bringing Carl Urban in to play Johnny Cage, and I'm like, shoot, perfect person to center your movie around.
I think
And
that would
I
work.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, he's in. I mean, he's already in. That's
Nice.
Build your movie around him, uh, and like I said, tell a serviceable story with some fun fight scenes, and you will
Mm,
have something fun. I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, if you want to do the member berry stuff, the fun thing about Mortal Kombat is you can kind of get away with that in those movies, as long as it's
mm,
not the total plot. I hope
yeah.
they're not that lazy with the story, but
Yeah.
where it's just that stuff, and I'm like, just tell a simple story and make it fun. That will be enough. We don't need A grade Mortal Kombat, just a
Mm,
B level story with some fights and some gore. That'll
yep.
make hundreds of millions of dollars. It's I think something like that would give me more hope, because that would at least send a little bit of a message to where it's like, okay, maybe we don't have to be profound with this stuff,
Mm,
but if we make some effort, we can actually make some decent adaptation. Basically the idea that I would hope it would sell is, if you're relatively faithful to the spirit of the game,
mm,
that'll take you very far, and hopefully you would start working your way into some of the more serious stuff, and you would adapt something well,
mm,
instead of getting these crap adaptations of stuff like Halo, which, oh gosh,
yeah.
Halo
Another.
could have Halo could have
Yeah.
been so good.
Another story for yeah, definitely, and,
Yeah.
again, I've heard the stories about Halo, but again, that's another story for another time, but we're gonna have to start, winding down because I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's 9:15.
Yeah, but again, that's what my show is, you go from one place to another and you don't even know where you end up, so but I know, but yeah, it's always fun and getting to do this, especially with you, Gourd King, so thank you again for coming on. But
Oh, yeah.
we're gonna do our promotional stuff like last time, and then we're gonna go out on a few things, and then we're gonna head off because I do have to set up for tomorrow's stream, and I have to get ready for bed, so there's that too. But
Yay.
yeah, yeah, because I got work in the morning, so that's always a fun stuff. But anyway, again, oh yeah, again, go ahead and do your promotional stuff. I'll do mine, and then we'll go from there.
All right, so like I said, you can find me over on the channel The Gourd King. You can also find me on another channel, which you'll find the links on that main channel for Papa Pumpkin. That's one of the other ones I've got. As for where I'm going to be in the near future, I know this Thursday I'm going to be talking with the creator Pops. We're going to be talking the movie Serpico, which that should be a lot
Nice.
of fun. Uh, I know not this Thursday, but next Thursday, I'm going to be hanging out with Roman of the Empire. It's
Ooh,
going to be like a free reign show where we cover the news. And while this one's a little bit down the line, but I've got a few streams lined up with Nick from Plot Strikes Back, who just did his very first live stream of his show, Masculine Movie Monday. I think that's what it's called.
Wow.
I might have mixed those words up, but it's basically where they cover movies that have kind of a bent on the subject of masculinity. They did Tombstone last night.
Ooh,
And I'm not just saying this because I'm going to be a guest soon. It was a really good show.
nice.
Nick he's a natural host. He was quite good at it.
Hmm.
So I'm excited for him because I think he's really got something there. And I'm excited to be a guest in the coming weeks. I know when I'm going to be on there for the first time, we'll be talking John Wick.
Ooh,
So that'll be
yes.
a lot of fun. And like I said, the midway point of the show, I've got some other things in the works for my channels, and you'll probably next see me live on my channel doing a gaming stream for Uncharted. So look forward to
Nice.
that.
Yeah, and his links are down below. Awesome dude, and I'm always glad he gets to. I'm always glad I get to have him on because it's always because that's always one of the big things with this is scheduling, and that's always a challenge in itself, which is always fun. But yes, his links are down below. If he's worth the follow, why not? Right? I mean, you have I know a lot of content creators say go follow this person, but I'm sort of like, you know what? If a content creator is worth their salt, they'll have earned the follow. I won't have to tell somebody to follow them. They'll have earned that follow by just saying, go check them out, see if they're worth it.
I'm
And if
pretty
they're
sure because you're worth it is like a Maybelline slogan or something, but that's fine.
maybe she's
That's
born with
fine.
it, maybe she's made of a lane.
Well, there's
Okay,
like
all
one
right.
of those makeup things where it's like because you're worth it. I'm like, yeah,
It's
that's what I.
yeah,
It's
might
like
be Olay.
follow me because I'm
Yeah.
worth. But yeah, it might be Ola. Maybe it
No.
is. I don't know. It's a woman's thing. We'll ask a woman next. That can be your conversation starter. The next woman you interview. So because you're worth it. Who did that? And
Chapter one.
is it true? Are you?
Yeah, oh goodness. Oh yeah, that will lead somewhere great. But yeah, again, his links are down below, and just give him a look. And thank you for that, Neuro. Um, I'm on the wrong part. But for my end of things, whether you're on the Rumble side, whether you're on the YouTube side, doesn't matter which one. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing the content, leaving a comment or follow, anything that helps with the engagement factor is much appreciated. Because not only does it help in being seen more, like all content creators want to be seen, it also helps in having other people on, like the Gourd King, Real Tomby, like Vex Electronica, who I've had on before, like so many other people. At the end of the day, I do this thing where I talk to people, creator or not, non-creator alike, and just have conversations about whatever. Because at the end of the day, that's what I feel is really missing, is just having conversations about wherever it could go, and all that stuff. Because when I first started this thing, I didn't really see very much of it. So I've talked to other people who do free flowing stuff, but it just feels it's not up to changing out people and having different people on or whatever. Because I know some content creators build up the circle, reliability, and all that stuff, and they kind of get stuck to
Mhm.
some degree. But at the end of the day, I do my thing. People could do whatever they want. And I appreciate you all. And of course, I have a link down below as well. It takes you to my Twitter X, my email, and my Discord, but it's only DMing. I don't have enough mental bandwidth to do a whole server thing because it's just too much social media. At a certain point, it's just too much, and best to work with what you can handle. So there is that, and of course, tomorrow was gonna have a guest on at 7 p.m. Eastern, but they had to cancel at the today. So of course, it will just be a solo stream tomorrow. So hopefully, it'll come out. For that, but that'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern. So 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, solo stream. Hope to see you all there. And of course, the last thing I do with my guest, one of the fun things I do, is called Questions from a Hat. And I'm pretty sure you can kind of guess where that's kind of based from. But anyway, I bought a hat from Rumble and I put some questions in it.
Oh, it's not from the hat you're wearing.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been totally different. They'd be like a magician's hat, really. But anyway, I'm gonna pull. So what happens is that my guest gets 2 freebies. Now, obviously, I'm not monetizing YouTube, so it is what it is. But if you're on the Rumble side, I'm monetized. So all you have to do is give a Rumble rant. Doesn't matter the amount. Any Rumble rant will do. And I'll pull another question around the hat. But so far we'll start with the two. So anyway, I'm gonna go into my hat, pull a question out. Let's see what we can get. Um, Here's one right here. This is question number one, and the question is, what is your favorite word to say?
Ooh, that's a good question. What is my favorite word to say? Because there's a lot of words that I like.
What's the first one that pops in your head right now?
That's the thing. It's just like it's not even one word. It's like a word jumble that's throwing through my head. It's just like it's like a million at once.
Uh,
Oh gosh. Um
it's not supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, is it?
no, that's you can only really say that when you're talking Mary Poppins, which funny enough I did recently. I watched that for the first time. It's a good movie. Um uh I thought of one word that I was like, that's not my favorite word, and it's not. It's kind of a negative word, so we won't go with that one. Um, shoot. Man, oh man.
What's like the first one that pops in your head?
I mean, I guess because I cover a lot of bad media sometimes, or at least
Mm,
that's it feels like what's mostly what I've been doing.
mm.
One of the first words that came to mind was cataclysmic.
Ooh,
That was
cataclysmic.
and then granted, it's not like the most complex word it is. It's probably not my actual favorite word, but it's one of the first ones that came to mind.
Mm,
But yeah, it's I think as far this will be a funny one because I think I actually really like the word aesthetic.
aesthetic.
Uh and
Okay.
almost for the word that it describes, aesthetic has a certain its own thing to it has a certain aesthetic. It sounds nice rolling off the tongue.
Mm,
Uh I like the meaning of it. It's a nice it's not necessarily my favorite word, but it's one of my favorite words. I really like the word aesthetic. I like the way it's spelled. I like the way
mm,
it sounds. It's one of those words that it's not so complex that the person you say it to doesn't know what you're talking about, but
mm.
it does have that added benefit of making you sound cultured.
Yeah,
So I like the word aesthetic.
aesthetic. Oh my gosh, that's a pretty good one. Or cataclysmic. I would have. That one is good too.
Cataclysmic's a good word. That's a
Yeah.
good word.
All right. Here's question number two. Unless someone gives a roll rant. What's your favorite season and why?
That's an easy. Okay, fall is 100%. I love fall, and not just because of the whole pumpkin gimmick. Even
Yeah.
detached from the pumpkin gimmick, it's actually within the confines of the pumpkin gimmick. Fall would actually be my least favorite season because that's when we all die.
Yeah.
But um, in but no, in reality, fall is easily my favorite season. I'm more of a cold weather person than a warm weather person.
Right.
Now, granted, I don't love the bitter cold winter.
Oh yeah. Oof.
I do like snow,
Mm,
and but I like snow at the highest possible temperature it takes to acquire it. Like,
mm,
that's fine. But fall is that nice little sweet spot. I like it where it's about 55-ish degrees,
mm,
where there's a nice little briskness to the air. I love the smell of the fallen leaves. I love and I like it. I like the fall on a reasonably sunny day
mm,
where it's cool. You've got the changing colors, you've got the smell in the air. Sometimes people will be like burning sticks, so that smell actually is very much in the air near where I live, because people they'll burn sticks off of trees because they're falling and whatnot. So you
mm,
get that in the air a lot. It's very pleasant.
mm.
But yeah, fall just I mean, I think to me, part of the reason I like the cold weather is because to me, it's easier to warm up when the weather's cool than it is to cool off when the weather's hot.
Yeah,
Also,
that's true.
yeah, I prefer that. And,
Mm.
I like, you get to go out, get to wear comfortable clothing, like, a hoodie or something like that. It's
Nice.
very mellow, very relaxed. I really love the fall season. It's very pleasant. It's very pleasant.
And drinks with pumpkin spice, right?
Never, never. We don't do that. That's pumpkin spice is a lie. It's a lie. It's pure propaganda, and
it just
you
you
need to
just
destroy it.
it just be funny. It's like, yes, I'm a pumpkin and I like some pumpkin spice
That's
latte.
cannibalistic. That would be terrible. I have in reality, I have never tried pumpkin spice, but I do know there's no actual pumpkin in it. I don't know why it's called pumpkin spice. There's no pumpkin in it. It's a lie.
Yeah, it was just easy to say to have that fall feel,
Yeah,
but I've never
yeah,
had it either, so I wouldn't
yeah.
know.
I've never tried. I have no idea if it's actually good. I don't. Are the white girls right? I don't know.
I wouldn't say it's all white girls. I have seen some Latinas
But
drink
that's
it
the
as well,
meme.
but
That's the
yeah,
meme. We gotta roll with
yeah,
the meme.
yeah.
It's the fall weather white girls with their wearing their Uggs in
Oh,
line at Starbucks,
Uggs.
having their pumpkin spice lattes,
Mm-mm.
and yeah, I think they just like hearing their name called at Starbucks. I think that's what they like.
Will let Tiffany step up and get your mocha choco latte with a side of
Yeah,
low fat?
they get to hear their name. They get to hear like the aesthetic
Mhm.
of of their drink order because it'll make them sound like ooh she gets an extra dash of cinnamon. I wonder what that tells me about her. It's like it doesn't tell me
Yeah,
anything. It just tells me you're another chick who drinks pumpkin spice. You're not.
and like sugary coffee drinks. Ugh.
Yeah, you're one of
Um,
those high maintenance chicks that spends $10 on a styrofoam cup of coffee that you can make yourself for like a fifth of that. Ugh.
oh my gosh. Do you hear how
And
he talks like that?
you probably say like a lot. You probably repeat the same word,
Oh,
probably again and again.
I'm getting those
Probably.
Valley Girl vibes. Oh my goodness, I'm getting the chills down my spine. But
Yeah.
but anyway, that is the end of the show, of course. And again, I want to thank all those who were in chat, and I also want to thank the Gourd King for coming on again. A real cool dude, and I'm always grateful for when he comes on because usually how it goes scheduling wise and stuff, it's hard to reach out. But you're always welcome to come back, good sir. And I do appreciate you giving me some of your time coming on. It's been fun. It's been a
It
blast.
has been. And I
It's been
appreciate the invite. Heck
it's
yeah.
been a pumpkin smash.
Oh no. That's horrible. Oh no.
Yeah, that was probably bad. It's been a something. But, but anyway, again tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern is a solo stream because again my guest couldn't make it, so I can handle it. It's not a big deal. But anyway, as always, I end my show with "One Day with You" by Pogo. And again, I hope to see you all tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a great rest of your night. And again, thank you all for being here. It's been a real pleasure, or as Chick-fil-A does it, my pleasure. But that's a little reaching too deep. So anyway, have a great night, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.